It's like a pizza crunch without the batter. It's like the wood juice without the water. You'll never get the knickers I found. What a fucking chance. Premeditated patter. Premeditated patter. Alan McClemont. I first came across you on YouTube where you gained a lot of attention online for exposing what goes on behind the scenes at the DWP. You've told some pretty harrowing stories for your time working as an advisor, but I'm going to ask you if you can take us back and just give us a brief glimpse into your early life, just so we can gain some kind of context into who you are.
Aye, certainly, Jordan. I'll be happy to do that. So, I was born in Lanark and grew up in Humains, which is 15-20 minutes from here, from where we're sitting. I spent probably my first 10 years there, and then I moved to Dumfries and Galloway. I've been back and forward though. I spent a year in high school at Clyde Valley High School for a year in the year 2000. I was in third year, and in between that I'd just lived in Bath City in England as well. We'd moved about quite a lot, and then I'd obviously landed in Dumfries and Galloway again and finished high school there. Got my first jobs there, just doing lad things, what everyone else was doing, like just going out drinking, working, smoking weed, doing stuff like that, having a laugh, and then I just overindulged in things like that, and it started to spiral out of control. It went, I couldn't stop on the path, whereas other mates of mine could stop and kind of sort their life out. I kept going further and further and further until I got to the end and there was nowhere else to go. And then it was a long road back. I've done loads of different kinds of jobs. Like, I mean, I can't hold doing a job like a 40-hour-a-week job for too long. A year and a half, maybe 2 years if you're lucky. Like, and then I'm ready to move on. Like, but I've worked as a brickies mate. I worked as a fisherman. I've done customer service. Worked for DFS. Worked in the woods, tree planting. Pretty much all the rubbish jobs you can think of in society. I've pretty much done them with low. It was hard graft. With not a lot of thinking going on, not a lot of responsibility.
I can relate to that, mate. I can relate to that.
So that's where I was at to begin with, and then it was as I started to kind of in 2014. I don't know what happened, like, but something hit me energetically, and I started to crave knowledge, like asking the big questions to myself that I never asked before. I don't know why. I was like, who am I? Where did I come from? What am I doing here? What are we doing here? And then I started to ask these questions, and I said at the time I was fiending for knowledge. It was just I was taking sick days at the sawmill I was working at, just so that I could. Did you say? The sawmill. I worked at a sawmill for it.
I thought you said the sauna. Definitely not using your head in there.
No, just the sawmill. Like, and I was just taking sick days so that I could watch conferences and read books and stuff. And it was like I wanted to do that full time. And then as time went on, I started to want to put the knowledge into practice, because it's only power if you put it into practice. And for 3 or 4 years I didn't. I was telling everyone else I'm reading this, I'm reading that, but the way I was looking, I wasn't eating bad food. I wasn't practicing what I preached.
Right, okay.
Pretty much. That's.
Where did that thirst for knowledge come from? Was there anything that sparked it?
I've no
Was there something you seen online that maybe kind of that just out of nowhere as far as you remember?
I've no idea, Jordan. Like when I told you that day I woke up and decided I wanted to learn how to play the guitar, there was nothing behind that. It was just this feeling that I had. It was similar to that, although it was a bit different. And I mean, people were asking, what's going on with you and what you doing, how come you're into that? I had family members tell me, when I seen you sharing that stuff and that information, I got a bit worried about you, thinking that my head had went, like.
Right, I see.
And they were asking that what's happening, and I couldn't give them an answer because I didn't know. I know now it's been a spiritual awakening, like that.
Right, so is that what you categorise it as?
Aye, it's a spiritual awakening. Aye. I mean, some people have what's known as a Kundalini awakening.
Okay.
I didn't have that. I had it was like bursts of energy coming through the spine. It was going up through the spine, and it was just I can't explain it, Jordan. I can't put it into words. I don't try to put it into words because I just sound like an idiot. What I can tell you is that in the 10 years since that's happened, because it's 10 years almost to the month, I think it was about May 2014. All I can tell you that in that 10 year, my life's transformed in ways that I would never have believed you that it could. If you've ever seen that film Limitless, it's a bit like that. It's been a bit like that.
Right, okay, so even you see a spiritual experience, how did you eventually identify it as that?
I'm not sure.
Why did you use spiritual experience? Where did you see something online that you kind of resonated with or something?
I was listening to it. Like, there's a guy in Britain called David Icke, and a lot of people slag him off and all the rest of it, but I listened to him, and it was like I had all these people in my life, Jordan, try to help me, try to tell me, give me this information, you need to do this, you need to do that. And everything I tried, it didn't make it better, it just seemed to make it worse.
Right, okay.
Until I read this guy's books. The first one was The Human Race, Get Off Your Knees. And I'm not joking, it blew my mind wide open. It was like the way I was looking at life and the way I was taught to look at life was wrong, which is why my life was in such turmoil at that time. I thought, this is why, no wonder. This is my life, because this information is what I needed to read. That's what I should have been getting taught in school. But you don't get taught that in school. And then I started to really open my mind to it, and I started to understand things that I didn't think I could understand, and people were starting to say to me, well, what do you mean? That's amazing. How did you know that? And how did you fill that out? And how did you realise that that's what it was? And I don't know, it's like innate intelligence that everyone... I'm not special, Jordan. I'm not somebody that's came from a different star system that managed to connect into this and tapped into this knowledge. Everybody's got the potential for this. Everybody's got that. It's that energy in your heart chakra. Mm-hmm. It's your wheel of light. That's who we really are. And everyone can tap into that and get that innate intelligence from within. That's where the saying comes from. It comes from within. And I think what I've done is I've used my energy and I've connected into that, whatever that is, and it's brought me here.
Right, okay. So take me to when you started working for the DWP. How did that come about?
So it was actually really weird. Again, and this is another thing with this spiritual awakening. I was told at the time that everything's going to break down. It'll all break down in ways. Your life will be pure turmoil. You'll not know what's happening and you'll want to go back, but you can't. And that's exactly what happened. And synchronicity started to happen as well, and I was told that that's what would happen. Once you know you're on the right path, you'll get these wee synchronistic journeys that will take you to your destination. And for years I didn't see any of that, and until I'd started working for the DWP, or maybe just before it, when I got the customer service job. I was at DFS, and then I left there, and I was supposed to go to the HMRC, but this boy... There was this guy that was trying to do the interview with me. He was a young guy. He didn't want me there, and I knew he didn't want me there. And every time I said, because it was us signing the Secrets Act and all these different bloody thingies, and it was really starting to get onto me, Ken. It was really annoying me. Mm-hmm. But that's only because he kept sending me the documents back saying, you need to do this again, you need to do that again. And I'm like, what do you mean I need to do it again? What's the problem? All the information's there. And what he was trying to do was, I didn't know this at the time, I realised that after it, that he was purposely doing that so that I would just say, fuck it, I'm done with this, I'm moving on.
Right. Why do you think you had that kind of dislike?
I don't know, mate. I don't know, but again, it has to do with the fact that, again, everything's a frequency. Everyone's vibrating at a certain level. And this is why not everybody can get on, man. I mean, I've had people dislike me just for looking at me, just take one look at me and they'll dislike you. They might just know the way you speak or anything. They probably don't know why they don't like you. But he did not want me working for that company. It's almost, and I said it at the time, it's almost like he was saying, you're not coming here to work for the HMRC. It's just not happening. I would have been good at the job, but after a couple of steps, I'd basically just said, nah, this isn't happening. So the women that had initially given me the job, I was supposed to be starting. I was just waiting for a disclosure to come through. I'd been given the job. I thought
it was a job interview.
No,
I've
been given it.
So you'd been given the job and they were saying you're the kind of...
And there was someone on a disclosure. It was just they wanted the disclosure through. And it was just, I can't remember what it was on. I think it was a driving offence or something like that. Because I had to write out why I'd lost my licence and that when I first got it. And then the woman came back and she says, actually, Alan, we're going to move on. You've not been successful. I said, hold on a minute. I said, you've already told me that I've been successful. And I said, last week, and I looked on Indeed where I found the job, and I said, last week when you were telling me to send this documentation across, you just reposted the bloody job. They'd reposted the job. She says, we do that all the time. She says, you give somebody a job and then repost it again? That's how you operate? But again, synchronicity, Jordan, because, and I've said it many times, that I wasn't meant to go to the HMRC. That wasn't my bag. It was DWP, because I think it was about 7 days after I realised that I wasn't getting that job that I'd went and I'd applied for one at the DWP for universal credit, and I'd had to sit this wee test and I aced it, and I basically just given the job straight away, and that was it. It didn't start till November the 7th, 2022. And then that was it. It was just a case of getting into the DWP and learning, because I was at DFS before that. And DFS, it's similar. It translated really well, even though the industry's different. the way they run it and the way they operate it with the call times and some of the wording you use, it translated really well.
Right.
So that's how I got really good at it. And I've spoke many times with my manager, like I try not to bring him up now because I've said all I'm going to say on him, but just briefly, I had problems with him at the beginning as well.
As the manager at the DWP.
At the DWP,
so what was your experiences with him? See, when you started the job, like, how was your thoughts and emotions going into it? Were you like, right, new start, brilliant, or was it right away you started to kind of notice things were a bit iffy?
Honestly, Jordan, when I first started that, I thought this is brilliant. This is easier than DFS. See, the first week, I thought, see if this is the way, because it was coming to Christmas as well, and I thought, if this is the way it is, this is brilliant. And then I think it was about 2 weeks after that when it really started to pick up. It just getting blew up, like. And
What do you mean it blew up?
Like suicide calls, people calling up and saying, "Look, well, one of the first bad calls I had was when that guy called at Christmas."
So tell us about that then. The guy called at Christmas.
Well, he called at Christmas, and it was the day before. It was the day we were all finishing up to go for Christmas holidays, and he was due his payment that day because it was early. And it was on his account that he'd had these wages, they'd been earning wages. He says, like, man, I've not worked for about 15 years. I'm done with that stuff. Like, I can't do that manual stuff anymore. It's like, I don't work. And I said, but you've had these wages put on. It was quite a lot of money as well. And he says, well, what am I supposed to do with my money? I says, all I can do is put this payment dispute through for you. And that's it. And we'll have, how long does that take? And at this point, I didn't know how long it taken. I says, look, mate, I honestly don't know, but they'll sort you out. They'll hear back within whatever it was, a couple of days, was the communication on his account. But here's the thing. I've since found out that it's actually 8 weeks it takes to process those payment disputes, even though it's got nothing to do with him. Even though all he's doing, he's at the mercy of the system. The system's got flaws on it because they're reporting earnings that people aren't receiving. But it's not even like I can put him through to the bloody payment line to say, well, get this guy's payment and transfer it in. It's 8 weeks. Mm-hmm. So I'll ask you, Jordan, what is this guy supposed to do? Or from that Friday before we break up for Christmas for 8 weeks? I think about him quite a lot because imagine how he must have felt that day. Imagine how he must have felt that day, Christmas. He's not got his money. All I can do is put a bloody communication across to say this is wrong, and he has to wait for them to get back in contact. Mm-hmm. And that was happening constantly. I was having kids in the background with mum. There was a mum she was in Wales, and she had the same problem. And our kid was running about in the background shouting, "Mummy, I'm hungry." Mm-hmm. And that was really quite antagonising for me, Jordan, because I thought it doesn't matter how good I think I am or what my philosophy is in trying to help these people. I'm complicit in this. And as they start to mount up, as the months go on and they start mounting up, you start saying, well, hold on a minute here, this is bloody wrong, there's something not right here. And then when I started to think about the information that I'd learned through the spiritual awakening, learning about Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, and I thought, well, they talk about having a universal basic income that's run by a computer. That's what this is. This is the beginnings of that. And I thought, nah, I need to come forward. But there was a few other things. I mean, I got a disciplinary for doing a homeless application form for a kid from Afghanistan he'd been brutally attacked in an unprovoked attack with a machete. I think it was done in Leeds or something like that. Mm-hmm. And he couldn't really speak it. Well, he could speak English, but he couldn't write it very well. He could understand it a wee bit. I says, do you want me to sort it out for you? I'll just do it now and send it to them. And because he didn't have a phone or anything. Mate, that's really nice of you, thank you very much. And then because I'd CC'd that manager's email address into the email, because they've got to monitor it if you send an email to anyone, just so that you know you've done it right. And because it was somebody from outside the system, they decided to use it against me by saying, well, you've breached data protection rules here, and they took me straight to a written warning. So I was basically, had my hands tied. So they must have thought, well, if we can do this with him, we'll maybe be able to kind of put a leash on him a wee bit.
Right, so is this when you were kind of starting to speak out, this kind of stuff started to happen?
Well, this was about 3 months into it, and I was just about to leave then and do what I'd done in January. Uh-huh. This would have been about March last year, March last year. And then there were 2 guys that I had the meeting with, they'd convinced me to stay, and I did want to stay because I thought, no, I want to put some time into this because it is brilliant experience. Regardless of what you think of the system, it was really good experience for helping people and dealing with people, and I learned a lot from it, Jordan, and I'll always be grateful for it. Honestly, I really will. It changed me as a person, like.
Aye, definitely.
And I'll always be grateful for that. But then in the August, decided, nah, it's time, like, this is it, I need to come forward with this, because it was getting worse. See, they were starting to put more onto us, like with the recoverable hardship payments. When somebody's sanctioned, they need to give them a hardship payment. Now, the vast majority of people don't know that. Like, I have to tell them that. I'd see the amount of folk I'd spoke to, mate, that had 6 months without any money, any hardship payments. They're like, I've not had any money for 6 months, I'm sanctioned. It's like, what? Where's your hardship payments? What's that? What do you mean, what's that, mate? That's the money they need to give you to feed you. I know they would love to sanction all it, but they can't. I mean, this is Britain. This is where the fathers of bloody democracy, like, and some of them would burst into tears when you told them that, because they felt shortchanged, which they were lied to. And a lot of the people, there's bad agents out there that would say, well, I'm not going to tell them about the recoverable hardship payment because I can't be bothered doing it, let someone else deal with it. And then what they started doing was, like, we used to, when somebody called up for a hardship payment, all we would do is send a communication to the case manager and say, this person needs a hardship payment, and we would ask 4 questions, and that would be it. Last August, they changed that around. They started putting more questions onto us. So I'll give you an example. Yeah. They would, like at the start of the call, right, you would say, why have you got no food? No food to prepare or anything like that. But it's obvious why, because they're bloody sanctioned. And then see, at the end of that, after I've asked all these other invasive questions, I need to ask them that again. So you're not asking this invasive question once, you're asking it twice. And then when you're having to say to them, well, have you cancelled any of your direct debits or any luxurious memberships that you might have? We actually have to ask them that, not once but twice. Among a load of other invasive things, like I have to ask women about sanitary products, which made me really, really uncomfortable, to the point where I wouldn't even ask them. I would just put it in anyway, that they would need that. Because it's like, there's something not right about that, Jordan. I don't think I should be asking somebody that.
It's very invasive and demoralising.
It is demoralising, degrading, invasive, and that's the reason for it. That's why they've done it, because it does degrade these people. And I can't imagine how they must feel at the other end of that phone, speaking to somebody that's asking them these questions while they're sitting with nothing.
100%.
It just makes it all the worse. But this is all coldly calculated, mate, which is why I've came forward.
Why is see, when you were doing, like, asking these kind of invasive questions, what was the kind of, like, the reply in that for people that were on the other end of the phone? Did you get some people kind of losing their rag as such?
Yeah, and I fully understood why that was. And this is another thing. What I done was I got like a dialogue where it wasn't as invasive, so I made up this little dialogue. I can't even quite remember.
You restructured the questions?
I restructured the questions, and I was still asking the question, but it wasn't as invasive. So I would say,
an example?
Right, so I would say, so it's asking here if you have why you haven't got the food to any food to eat or prepare, and I would say, I'll presume Mr. Smith, that you have no food to prepare because you're sanctioned. Is that correct? And they would say yes. Right, okay. And so I would word it like that all the way through, so that you weren't telling them, you were asking them in a more human way.
Kind of thing.
Yeah,
right.
Because there's some people, like, I mean, I dread to think what some of the agents would be like with that, John, because there's people out there, mate, that I know who've done the hardship payments. Well, somebody on the phone, the other end of the phone's going hungry, and they're sitting eating a packet of crisps while they're doing the hardship payment for somebody, and anybody that ate on the other end of the phone with me while I was trying to speak, I would politely say, look, can you put that bloody sandwich in the now or sort this out? And I would never eat on the end of the phone because it's just rude and you can't hear what's going on. But for somebody to sit there and eat a packet of crisps while you're doing a hardship payment for somebody while they're sitting starving is unforgivable. It really is.
Is that something you've seen firsthand?
I didn't see it firsthand, but I know for a fact that happened because there was people getting pulled in for it all the time. Some of the things that agents do, mate, are the things they lie about is unbelievable. Like they'll say, like, right, so if someone's waiting for a payment, right, and it says on it that your payment will be in by 8 p.m. tonight. It says that in every single statement. But somebody will get through and they'll say, look, my payment's not in yet, it's still not there. Can you tell me when it's going to be in? And the agent will say to them, I'll guarantee it'll be in by 6 o'clock, and it'll definitely be in by 8 o'clock, and it'll definitely be in by this time. They can't give those assurances, Jordan, because they're not processing the payment. They don't know when it's going to go in, but they'll tell them that to make the call easier on themselves. And I've had this with people would rather you lied to them and said, it's definitely going to be in by 6 or 8 o'clock, and they could sit there for that 3 or 4 hours calm and comfortable knowing I've been told it's going in, so it's going in, rather than me just saying, by the way, I can't guarantee you this will go in by 6 or 8 o'clock. They blow up at you for saying that. They would rather you lie to them. But I don't do that because they need to know the truth. It's like, you need to know the truth here, that I can't guarantee you this will be in. It says it will be, but because it's me that's not processing it, I can't guarantee you. If it was me that was processing this and I was going to do that at 5 o'clock, I would be telling you, yes, it'll be there at 5 o'clock because I know I can trust myself. But I don't process these payments, so I'm not going to give you any guarantees that I can't keep, because if I give that guarantee, right, and then it's not in at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or whatever, they then phone back, the agent they do get through to, they're going to catch it for me lying to somebody. So that's another reason why I didn't do it now. It's very hard to give people the truth because it does make it difficult on you. It really does. But I would rather make it difficult on me as the next person and make it easy on myself. That's just wrong, like.
Yeah,
but that's what they do.
Yeah, I totally agree. See, what was your relationship with your manager then? Tell me a bit about him.
Oh, it was just micromanaging tactics, mate. It was just, it was really quite sleek it like in ways, because when I was waiting for this disclosure, right, I basically had to sit at my computer, right, till this disclosure came through the bloody door. And it was at the time where there was the postage, there was strikes for postage. Remember all these strikes and all that stuff before? So it was like, it added an extra 7 days on it, 10 days on it. So I'm sitting there one day just waiting for it to come through, try to help it on the wall, try to learn the job and help people out for things that I'd already knew, just to keep myself busy, like. And I get some message from him to say, it was really cheeky, like, it's really quite nasty. I've just been through all our team's calls and you haven't taken one. What's going on? I says, hold on a minute, mate. I says, I'm waiting on disclosure. I says, one bloody phone call to human resource, whoever it is that deal with, would have told you that. But this is somebody like that's just trying to stamp their authority on somebody. That's all it is, like. But I put it down to, he's just probably under pressure or whatever. But I did say to myself, like, internally, I'm going to have problems with this guy. And then the thing about it is, it was because I was good at the job why I had to undermine me, Jordan, because he was a lot younger than me. Like, I think he was only about 28 and I was 36 at the time, and I was really good at it. And people would respond to me in the group as well, and there were some people in the group would say, I think Alan should be our spokesman, and I'd be sitting there like, why did you say that? I'm already in a delicate situation with this bloody guy without you saying that in a meeting that's just got to worry him even more. And that's exactly what it done. And he just kept, every chance he got, he just kept undermining me. And then my papa died last April, a year ago next week it is. And he knew this. And I had the Monday off and I went back on the Tuesday, and he got in contact because he could hear I was upset. He says, look, are you okay? And I said, I'm fine. There's no point me sitting at home. I was sitting in my room and bloody thinking about it. I might as well just do it. Well, anyway, that was fine. And he kept, like, my quality had dropped down. So they score you out 100. 90 and above is fine. They'll not say anything to you. 80s, they'll release it. But see, when it drops into the 60s, they start getting onto you, especially him, because he was using it as an excuse to undermine me. So it's dropped into the 60s, and it was round the 2 weeks after my papa died. And I'd said, look, I know it's unacceptable, but I'm going through something now. I says, it'll be back when it's back. I'll get there. Well, I'd got there and I got it back to where it was. But see, any time that he wanted to undermine me or he wanted to stamp his authority, or if I'd done something wrong, he would bring that up. It's still about that quality. It's like, look, mate, I don't know how many times I said to him, it was fucking weeks ago, it was months ago, let it bloody go. We can't change it. It's in the past. That bloody quality will never change from that time period, and you know why. But he was adding these micromanaging tactics, and an example of a micromanagement tactic is this, Jordan, right? See, if you do something wrong, the manager will be on your arse and he will never let you forget about it, right? That's constant. But see, if you do something right, you get no praise. Right. So it's always negativity. It's always negative. I mean, you've bound to have heard it where somebody says, oh, don't give them too much praise. Because, I mean, that's understandable because you don't want people getting too big or whatever. But when you're sitting using the quality dropping into the 60s at a time when someone lost a dear family member, when you're using that to undermine somebody, I'm sorry, but you've got serious problems on you. Like, when you know that you've lost somebody and he knew how important it was to me. And I'd actually said to him before I left, I says, look, mate, I says, I actually feel like a bit of an idiot because I've told you a lot of deep and personal things. And yet you were using micromanagement tactics all the time. And you never ever got back to that email. And we used to have this clean desk audit, so they would look at your desk just to make sure everything was clean and tidy, and you'd leave papers on there and stuff like that. And he would usually do the bloody clean desk audit. But see, after I sent that email, basically telling him what I thought of him. He got his manager to do it. He got his manager to come and do my clean desk audit so that he didn't have to come face to face with me and I mean. So it's a coward. And I said that to him because he told me I had 15 days holiday before I left, which is 3 weeks. And then I'd only got 2 weeks. And I'd emailed Human Resources. I said, look, this is wrong. And he came back to me and said, oh, you only had 8 days. I says, are you honestly telling me that we only had 8 days? I says, we had a conversation and you know we bloody did. 15 days. I says, are you trying to say we didn't have that conversation? I said, you're a bloody liar and you're a coward, and that's why they've got people like you, because people like me could never do what you do. And I never heard back from him again after that. But that's what they do. They're just blatantly lying to people, mate. And I wasn't the only person that had that problem with that company, like, because I think it's policy to do people at holiday.
DWP?
No, well, I work for a subcontracted company, like,
right, okay.
So I've not mentioned them because I don't want to be liable or anything like that. I can say the DWP because it's like a civil business kind of thing, like.
Right,
so.
okay. So see, when you obviously you said it was around about the start, the first couple of weeks you started to notice things were wrong. At what point did you start speaking out? Did you start making like your concerns vocal in your work?
I probably about the first time I spoke out would have been about February, March when I got that disciplinary, because at the same time as I hanged the disciplinary for that Afghanistan kid, I was also dealing with another guy who was in Thailand and he had stage 4 cancer and he had months to live. He'll not be here anymore. He was obviously out in Thailand enjoying the rest of his days. And what happened was he was waiting his payment. But he'd sent something across, I think it was like a plane ticket or something like that, to prove that he was in Thailand. It was just a holiday. I can't remember what it was. It was a receipt of some kind. But the case manager he'd sent it to had sent the wrong receipt to wherever he had to send it to. So this guy bloody stopped. He couldn't get his payment. So he was stuck in Thailand with no money. And this case manager had went home. And I'm going crazy, like, trying to work this out, trying to say, look, this guy's stuck in Thailand. He needs his money, like, he's over there. And then this manager came in, it's nothing. I says, look, this is bloody wrong. What's going on here? The people aren't doing their job right. I want to get something across to make sure this is, it's not our place to question this. That's what he says to me. I says, well, hold on a minute. I'm a taxpayer, mate, and I don't like what's happening here. Because at the end of the day, if we need to use this system, this is what we're coming up against, like. And he just didn't like the fact that I was questioning it. So that was the first time during that incident when I'd really questioned to say this is bloody wrong. And then it wasn't long after that we had a big meeting with about 150 people, and then I felt better after that because I realised that there was more people that were wrestling with the same things as me, like, which kept me going. Like, it was probably one of the reasons why I got the full year in.
All right, I see. So, when you started raising your concerns, what was the general attitude of your co-workers and that?
Silence, mate.
Silence? Did anybody agree with you, like, behind the scenes as such? Or?
Aye, they agreed, but this is the thing, it's alright agreeing, it's easy to agree, mate, but you need to show your actions, man. I was absolutely hell-bent and made sure that no one was going to go hungry on my shift if I could help it. Jordan, that was it. I thought I need to sleep at night. There's just no way that I can hang up a call or press a button or not press a button to stop someone getting I'm not going to do it, because if you're too lazy and you don't want to deal with bad callers and you don't want to do the work, you shouldn't be here, because you need to get somebody in that will, because you're causing people to go hungry. They're causing people to go hungry. Work coaches are and all, and they're doing it deliberately.
Why deliberately?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's been talk of years that I do know, like, but there's been talk for years that they get percentages, they get like commission for sanctioning people now.
Who do work coaches?
I've heard. I don't know if that's true. I can't say for definitely because I wasn't a work coach, but it is supposed to be true. But they've definitely got a quota now to sanction people. They're getting away with things, sanctioning people, Jordan, that they would never have got away with 10 years ago. And they're doing it, and it's all to do with this Agenda 2030 to bring us into this dystopian society. And this is why I came forward, because looking at that benefit system, that is the benefit system that's set up for this dystopian society. Right. Like I was explaining to you the other night there, they're even getting guys with joint claims that if they're going with somebody that's on universal credit, if they're making 50 grand a year, and like I say, this actually happened, where he had to make a universal credit account because his wife or his new girlfriend was on it and he was moving in with her, and he's on the phone screaming at me, why? I'm like, mate, this is why. Because they're bringing us into this new agenda. And, well, I've not got time. And I said, you probably have me, mate. But if you want to move in with your bird and you want her to keep getting her payments, you're going to have to do it. But like I say, I've seen it hindering people's payments as well. It's utter madness, mate. It is utter madness. Like I was saying, and all with the Horizon scandal, it is very similar to that. And that was what triggered me to sort of do it when I did, because that was, like I said, it was on TV at New Year And it is exactly the same thing. When I watched the first episode of that and heard some of the calls that they were dealing with, I thought that, I said to my gran, because I was staying at her bit in Moffat at the time, I said that is exactly the same as the thing I'm dealing with. The woman on their end of the phone, it was telling the postmaster, no, it's not the system, it's you. You've made the mistake. It was so reminiscent to what I heard people doing, lying to people and saying, no, this is correct or this is correct. And then like I was saying with the deductions, people having deductions that shouldn't be on there on their statements, their universal credit statements, and I'm not supposed to bloody tell them. You're gaslighting people, mate, so they'll give up their benefits, because they're scamming an unbelievable amount of money for people. And the vast majority of people don't even know. Again, that's why I came forward.
So see, you say there's deductions that you're not allowed to tell people about?
So carer's element, right, and this, a lot of people have been on carer's element. So there's two types of carers. There's carer's allowance and carer's element, right? Carer's allowance is for people who only work 16 hours a week and they're caring for a wife or a family member, a husband or something, for more than 35 hours a week, right? They'll get carer's allowance. You can't work any more than 16 hours a week, but you'll get your carer's allowance on top of that. However, if you are working more than 16 hours a week and you are still caring for someone, you get carer's element, which is less because you're working more hours, so it's like £184. However, when someone comes off it, so let's say I'm no longer caring for this person or their health conditions cleared up, they would then sign off from carer's element or carer's allowance. But then the next month when their payment came through, it was still on there that they were still getting this benefit, and they weren't. So it was deducting it off their universal credit payment, even though it wasn't on the other side of it, even though they weren't actually receiving the payment, it was still being deducted off their universal credit. And I've spoke to ladies and guys that have gone hungry, that have been starving for years, mate, 2 and 3 years, because that deduction was on there, and yet no one on the lines would tell them what it was, or even put the payment disputes to get it removed, because we're not allowed to tell them. And even when we do tell them, and I'm dealing with this with my mum's statement just now, they're coming back, the case managers at the service centre are coming back and what they saying, no, this is right and this is right, that's right and that's right. It's like, no, it isn't, mate, because if anyone's got a benefit recovery on their statement where they've had to get money deducted to pay the DWP back, they first need to receive a letter to say that you've been overpaid this benefit during this time period for this amount, and this is a telephone number that you need to call us on so that we can agree on a payment plan for you. And when they agree that payment plan, say you say, right, I can pay you £10 a month towards that overpayment, that should remain at £10 a month, because that's what you've consented to. But not only is it not only remaining at £10 a month, it's fluctuating between up to as much as 150 for a benefit recovery.
So is that coming off the benefits?
It's coming off their benefits, right, Jordan.
okay.
And they don't actually owe this money. Like I said to you the other night, there was a guy who had a child tax credits overpayment. He was getting deducted about £80 a month, and he didn't even have any kids. You can't claim child tax credits if you've not got any kids. And that's what they're doing. And like I say, people are questioning it. Even people that do phone up and question it, the vast majority of agents will tell them, no, this is correct. But until they got through to somebody like me, and I made a job out of it. Like I said, it's not right, mate, I'll sort it for you, I'll put the payment disputes through. And I would often go through other statements and give them a kind of idea of how much they'd been deducted off. I mean, there was a lady, she was from here, Glasgow, and she lived in Essex, and she was one of the first that I dealt with it. When I'd realised it was actually happening, like with the carers element side of it. And she basically said, 3 years this has been on there, I've not been getting carers element for. So that was £180 that was getting deducted off her payment every month for 3 years. So that could be that's your shopping, mate. That could be your shopping.
No, it's a lot of money. It's
a
lot of money. But see, when you say you weren't allowed to tell them, at what point did you find out? Was that explained to you when you started the job, or did you raise a concern and somebody says, no, you can't tell them?
It's explained in the process that you only, and this is, so when you're learning, you'll get coaches that will come in and they'll sit in your calls with you and they'll listen to your call, and then after the call they'll say, right, you done this right, you done that right, or whatever. It was at that point where I'd took a call and I'd said to this lady, I was a guy, I can't remember, but I said, look, do you get carers element? No, mate, not for years. Right, well, there's carers element deduction on here. Do you want me to dispute it for you? Aye, mate. So I would dispute it, and then the call would finish, and then they would come in and say, you're not allowed to do that, you'll get marked in for that. I was like, what? Marked in for what? Oh, they called up to check their payment or something, but you've given them information about deductions. You only give them information for what they've called up about, so you don't actually tell them. And like I say, it's on my Instagram, Jordan. It's got it. When you get the communication back for the HMRC or the Payment Exception Services or whatever it's called that deals with these payment disputes, like with regards to earnings, it's got it in brackets to say this will take 8 weeks. Do not share with claimants.
Right.
So
Why do they want you to share it?
Because they know that people are going to get annoyed about it and angry because it's not their fault, mate. That deduction on there is not their fault. That's the system that's done that. So they, by human rights, by humanitarian rights, should be able to call that line and say that's through no fault of my own. I want my money back, and they should, by law, they should be able to transferable across to a line that can automatically dispense their payment, but they can't because it's an 8-week process and it's all related to them stealing from people, because this is calculated so that they save a certain amount of money each assessment period. There's no doubt about that, and that's why the amount of folks came back to me, Jordan, said, Alan, I've tried, these case managers saying this is right. There's loads that are coming back and saying thank you, this has really helped me and I've got my money back. But there's also the other side of that as well. There's a flip side where, and I dealt with a case manager a couple of weeks ago who was really like that. He just so calm. No, this is right, this is correct. I don't know where they got him for, like, but he's a total robot. And I was getting stressed out, and I know the process, so I can only imagine what other people were like when they're speaking to people like that, because I mean this is the type of people they employ, because that's the type of people they need. Total robots that don't ever, all they care about is themselves. That is it. If that's the type of person they need, and I said that to them at the start, I said, you need robots, mate. I'm not what you're looking for here. This because I said to them, I said, I've misunderstood what this is. I came into this thinking that yous needed good people to help through this benefit system to try and get people their money. And this is not what it is. This is the opposite to that. And they didn't answer. I'll tell you quickly, one of the managers was sat in a bloody meeting, and we were voicing our concerns about sanctions and unlawful sanctions and all the rest of it. And he turned around and he said, he says, oh, well, we need to sanction people to thingy the national debt, to bring the national net down. And I thought, well, that's somebody that doesn't understand how money's created. That's somebody that just does not understand this system whatsoever, because we could sanction everybody on universal credit, Jordan, till the end of time, infinitely, and it would do nothing for the bloody national debt. Absolutely nothing at all. And this same guy, I'd actually said to him another time when I was questioning things, I'd mentioned to them that I watched Schindler's List for the first time in 2012, right? And it was the first time I'd thought about the Second World War and what happened with the Jews and the Nazis. Like, as an adult, it was the first time I'd actually sat and pondered it and postulated what actually happened. And I couldn't believe that a country like Germany could allow something like that. For years, I couldn't understand it, how that was allowed to happen. And I said to this guy who came out with that comment, I says, for years I couldn't understand how that could happen to Nazi Germany, or to Germany, the Nazis to take over it. I said, but see, after doing this job for, I think it was 8 months I was there at the time, I actually understand that now. I understand, because the people here are doing exactly the same thing. They're turning exactly the same blind eye. This is what the German people did in the 1920s, 30s and 40s. And this is how it starts. And you know something, Jordan? He changed the subject so bloody quick. He would have thought that I was interrogating him and accusing him of being a Nazi. But this is the level of thinking people are at, mate. And we need to get out of that. We need to get out of that, because if you're thinking like that, you're assisting these psychopaths that are looking to bring in this dystopian world. And that's what it is, mate. I've seen it today. This morning, people have just, their manners are gone. It just, not everybody, but people that normally would have had manners and be really nice to you, everyone just seems miserable. And I mean, I went in and asked for some hot water and a coffee this morning before I jumped on the bus, and the woman was, and I says, look, I'd like to make a wee donation, thank you, because I can't, there was no on the sands, and she was just so drab and down and dour, and she didn't really say anything, and it was like, right, okay, it was not a very nice experience. But that's what a dystopian world is. It's a society that runs on hatred and fear and anger, and this is where we're headed, mate. If people don't start doing things about it, and that's why I came forward. And people used to say, well, what can one person do? Well, it's better than me just. I mean, I could still be sitting in that job now, collecting my salary and doing right for me and being like on my own and only helping 70 people a day. every day, weekly, like. But I thought it's not enough. I need to do more than this. This needs to be out there, because not only do the claimants need to know that this has happened to their benefits, but the bloody taxpayer needs to know that this is what they're doing with it. And the worst it is, Jordan, right? I've had people say to me like, that it's not taxpayer money. That's not taxpayer money. It's not their money. It's like, no, hold on a minute. When you look at fraudulent, that Melanie Stride, for I think she's the Home Secretary or the Secretary of State or something, she said it in her own words. We need to protect the taxpayer's purse from fraud, when she was discussing that Bulgarian gang that siphoned 50 million out of it. And it's like, okay, I'm glad you said that. I'll be using those words against you, and I'll be contacting her this week to say, look,
contact her?
I'm going to the morning. I've got the email and that typed up. I just need to go over it and spell check it to say, look, and I'm going to use her words against her. Because it's like, you are saying that you need to protect this money from fraud. Well, the people that are dispensing it are engaged in fraud. So where does that sit in between that and the bloody Bulgarian fraudster gang? Because it's nothing. It might be £50 million a lot to us, Jordan. It's a lot of money to me and you, that, mate. Mm-hmm. But compared to what they're siphoning off taxpayer-funded operations, it's nothing. It's a drop in the bucket.
Because when you look at the PPE scandals and that kind of thing, whatever fucking happened with that, it's like, I think one house got raided and that was it. They just left it. And you think, that's probably into the millions, into the billions, never mind the taxpayer expenses that politicians claim. And it's like, I think that even is it like the cafeteria in the House of Commons, that's taxpayer funded. It's all taxpayer funded. That's how they get these like fucking duck fucking caviar, whatever the fuck it is, and they get it for like £3.
You would too, wouldn't you?
Exactly, but we're the fucking poor cunts at the bottom.
Pay for it, exactly, and that's wrong, mate. There's the House of Lords, there's Lord Cameron, who used to be the Prime Minister of this. You can see the progression, man, through the hierarchy. Like, it's like, you do your job right, you'll be able to go in and sit. Because I call them gyro junkies at the Lords, like, because that's what they are. Because they're no different to somebody that's signing on, like, because they're showing up at the House of Lords every day and signing on. They need to sign in, and they get £300 a day for doing it, plus all their lunch paid and all their heating's off and all the rest of it. They're using the energy. It's just a total Ponzi scheme. It's been a total scam for well over 100 years now.
100%, man. Yeah. See, so do you feel you started to get a target painted on your back when you started voicing your concerns whilst in the job centre?
Well, like I say, I worked at home. I wouldn't.
Did you work at home?
I worked at home.
Right, I thought you actually worked in the job centre.
No, I worked at home, but I have to be honest here, Jordan. They were actually really good with me. I've always said, if you're going to criticise people for what they do wrong, you need to give them credit for what they do right, if they do something right. And this company, they allowed me to do these things. I didn't get too much said to me, like, and I didn't like it. They let me. Some of the conversations I was having with claimants, like, thank you very much, Alan. That's actually really educational today. Because I would tell them about the World Economic Forum and Agenda 21, Agenda 23, all that stuff that I'd learned, and it would give them some clarification. Now, they could have pulled me in and marked me down and got rid of me long before I chose to leave myself, but they didn't. They let me do the job because they knew I was helping people, and I thank them for that. I do commend them on that, because it allowed me some leeway to actually help people. Like, and I mean, I was contacting case managers and emailing case managers when you're not supposed to, like, and they let me away with it. So,
right, okay. So see, did you always work for him?
Aye, always.
So how did they do the desk audit when you said you did a desk audit?
It's like Teams. It's all done through Microsoft Teams. So, like, you're on Microsoft Teams, a whole system. So what will happen is you'll be sitting there, you'll have your Teams up, you'll have your, like, the thing you take the calls through, and then you'll have your system to check people's accounts. So on your Teams, like, anybody can download Teams, like,
aye,
but they've got the whole company on the system. So I'd be sitting there taking a call, and you would get a message, and somebody would say, right, what do I clean it up for your manager? Clean desk audit. And then that would be it. You would come off the call, you would go into the code they would want so that no other calls would come through, and then they would phone you on Teams, and you would just share your screen, and because they give you a camera, like a webcam, and you would just show them the desk.
Why do they want a clean desk audit if you're working for him?
Because it's security, and I had the same question, like, but they say it's security.
What's the security?
I don't know, mate. Honestly, I don't know. You're not allowed magazines, you're not allowed phones. Honestly, I don't know.
You're not allowed a phone at your desk, even though you're working for him?
No. DFS, you're allowed that stuff, but at DWP and Universal Credit, you're not, because apparently what they say is that it's because it's bloody people's accounts and stuff like that. But there's no bank details or anything
Well,
on
in
there,
case
mate.
so you're taking somebody's details off and writing them down or putting
There's
them in
nothing
your
on
phone.
there anyway. The only information you could really get is fair enough, you get their address and you could maybe get their monthly payment, like the knowledge of what their monthly payment is. You couldn't actually get it because there's nothing on there. But other than that, I don't exactly know what that was like.
Right, okay. So see, at one, there was rules imposed that you weren't allowed to speak about work outside.
Oh, why?
So see, was that when you started to raise your concerns? Did somebody kind of try and brief you on that, or when did you actually discover that?
Well, it's told to you in the training, because what happens is the first 3 weeks you're training in your living room again through Teams. They'll give you all these different tasks and assignments to do. And that's sorry, what was the question there again?
So see, when you're taught about, you were told you weren't allowed to speak about work outside.
Sorry about that, mate. He's working outside. So it's in the contract in the beginning. They say that all these processes, you're not allowed to speak about these processes outside of work. So when you sign a contract, with them, and it's on there that you will follow all these processes that they give you. Like for example, if I was still there now, I wouldn't be able to sit here and have this conversation with you because I would be liable, because I've signed a contract to say that I would not discuss this outside of work. So that's why I had to hand in my notice and leave to do this. Like, because loads of trolls were kept saying to me, like, they were like, oh, you're going to get done with the Official Secrets Act. It's like, well, I've not actually signed the Secrets Act. That was with the HMRC, which I'd never done that job. And then be like, oh, you get jail for this. It's like, no, I can't, because, and I've only just found out that if you're whistleblowing with regards to fraud, you're protected.
How so?
How
so?
I don't know. It's because I don't know the reasons for it, but apparently I was looking at the whistleblowing thing the other day there online, like, and apparently when you're exposing fraud, they can't bring you up into court for exposing fraud, apparently.
Right. Okay. I remember we were talking on the phone and you were telling me about why you think Job Seekers was switched to Universal Credit. Can you tell me about that?
Aye. So I done a wee video on this a couple of weeks ago. So everyone knows, obviously, there's 52 weeks in a year, right? So the vast majority of housing associations, they used to give you 4 weeks free rent, right? Now that was because there's actually 13 months in a year. When you add all up the 5 week months and stuff, it actually becomes 365 days is 13 months. But they only give 12 payments. So this is why they'd given that extra 4 weeks, because they give you 4 weeks free because there's an extra month in there. But they've taken that away. So what they've done is, Job Seekers Allowance used to get paid fortnightly, so your day would change every time you got paid. Whereas with Universal Credit, the date remains the same. So that means you're only getting 12 monthly payments. Whereas when you're getting fortnightly payments, you're actually getting the 13 months. So this is why all these housing groups are going round and basically telling people, oh, they've never heard of things like getting the 4 weeks rent free and stuff, when it's nonsense. But this is why they're doing it. So because of that, they've removed a payment from everybody. Not just standard allowance payments, child benefit payments, housing benefit payments, you name it. They've saved hundreds of billions just for doing that.
How do you work out 13 months in the year?
Because right, so normally 28 4 week month's 28 days, isn't it? Well, see, over the course of a year, some days like March will be 31 days, so that'll be 3 days, and then another year will be 30 days, some will be 29. See, by the time you add those extra 2 and 3 days up over the course of the 12 months, it actually makes a 13th.
Right, okay. Are you sure?
Positive, mate.
Are you?
Done the calculations, aye. It definitely is. That's why they used to give you the 4 weeks free, because they would remove 4 weeks off it, because you weren't getting an extra salary for that, because there was only 12 months.
Right, okay, so you think they've done that, they've changed the massive changeover at the UC so they can take that extra month or extra couple of weeks off people's payments?
Just divide 365 divided by 28 and it'll come up 13.2 months or something like that. That's how I worked it out. And then, like, didn't get me wrong, Jordan, like, I questioned that for bloody months. See, before I was saying, I didn't want to give the information. I was like, is this right? But it definitely is, like, it definitely does add up to 13 months. And I know why. When you get into esoteric knowledge and stuff like that, you start to find out why, and it's definitely true. There is 13 months in the year, like, definitely.
So what do you mean by esoteric knowledge?
Like hidden knowledge, like you've heard of the Freemasonic orders and stuff like that, haven't you?
The Masonic orders?
The Freemasons and stuff. Well, everybody thinks the Freemasons have only got a couple of levels, but they've got loads of levels, and the vast majority will not get anywhere near it. Like, we only get to the first couple of levels, but above that is your... I know people say it's conspiracy and all the rest of it, but I mean, when you look at some of the knowledge that they've hidden, or some of the knowledge I've learned over the last 10 years, this is what they're hiding from, is like the the true nature of who we really are with regards to the innate intelligence that we've all got. They've had to keep that from us. They need us to believe that we are nothings, we're stupid, we're nobodies. They need us to believe that because, and people say, well, why? And it's like, well, when you're in jail, does the governor give you the key? Or does the governor tell you how to get out or anything like that? He doesn't. His job is to keep you in prison. It's the same with them. And the key is learning about the true nature of yourself. And once you do that, mate, honestly, I changed my life with that. I was 21 stone, mate. I was addicted to heroin. I was a binge drinker. I smoked for too much weed. I smoked cigarettes. I took any drug that could get you high, I would take it. I didn't take care of myself. I didn't work out. I didn't even used to drink water. Honestly, how I'm still here is what I've learned over the last few years with regards to what's in. I don't know how I'm still here, but I'm still here. And if I can change it from that to this, everybody can. It's no one's special because everyone's special. And once you connect in with who you really are, the world's your oyster. I mean, the sky is the limit, but this is where peer pressure comes in. Everybody thinks peer pressure is just in high school. It's not. It's adulthood as well, mate, because I was the same when I was in the crowd. All this stuff I'm speaking about now, I wouldn't sit here and speak about that because you'd be too worried what everyone else thinks you for it. And it's the same thing now. I see it every bloody day where I live. It's like, oh, I don't want to actually say that because I might not get invited to their next party or something like that. And they don't if they say it. But that's why it takes quite a lot to stand alone. And again, once you find out who you really are, the sky's the limit. You're never going to do that though. Getting out to the pub every weekend and sitting in crowds all the time because you need the quiet. You need the silence. The silence is where the magic is. That's how you find out who you really are. And once you do that, like I say, it doesn't matter what it is, what you want to learn, what you want to be. Well, I always wanted to learn how to play the guitar. I always wanted to be in a healthy body, living a healthy lifestyle. I wanted to drive a BMW. I wanted to learn all these different things about the world, and I never ever thought it was possible. But when you think that it's not possible, well, it's not possible. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Both times you're right, and it's true.
I agree with
and
that,
when
man.
you say, I can do this, regardless of what it is, then you can do it. And I say to my nephew, if you're telling your pals your dreams and they're not laughing at you, then they're not big enough.
No, totally, man. It's like a lot of people hold themselves back with that fear of being judged. And you talk about peer pressure in school, that's the kind of stuff that lasts with people. Because through school, that's kind of like you're going through that phase, your brain's still developing, you're morphing into adolescence and adulthood. So these things are the things that kind of get ingrained into your brain, and you spend a lot of time as an adult try to unlearn past behaviours and learn new ones, and it's the healthy ones, healthy for the mind, healthy for the body. Because I used to be quite bad with the Charlie and that kind of thing, and I used to think drinking was brilliant, drink every weekend, and now I look back, I'm like, the shit I used to put into my body. Don't get me wrong, I like a wee cake now and then, a bit of sugar, know what I mean, but life's too short, know what I mean. You need to find your pleasantries, but it's knowledge. You need to educate yourself, arm yourself with the knowledge. So see, you eventually left that job at the DWP, so what eventually gave you the impetus to decide, right, enough's enough, I'm leaving here? What led to that?
So I knew in July, I'd seen about July last year, I thought I'm not going to, if I'm lucky I might get 2 years out of this. But it was really starting to get really bad, like, and I thought to myself, right, I'm going to go forward. I'm going to start a YouTube channel and I'm going to come forward with this. So about July last year, I started taking screenshots, even though I wasn't supposed to have my phone. I'd have it there, like, for screenshotting, because I knew people would say, you're lying, you never worked there. So I thought I had to do that. So I knew for about last July I was going to do it, like, that I was going to start a YouTube channel and go forward with it. But like I say, the final straw would have been about the August, September, when just micromanaging tactics, Jordan. It was just bullshit, mate. Kind of just this manager that just, it was, I don't know if he envied me or he was deliberately trying to antagonise me because he didn't like me, or he felt threatened so much that he thought, I'm going to have to undermine this guy so that he doesn't rise above me or something. I don't know, only he knows. I was just guessing. But whatever the reason was, he was one of the main reasons why I'd left as early as what I did. But synchronicity, again, timing's everything. Like, I would have loved to have stayed there for another year and put another year's experience into that, because I think it would have benefited me. But time doesn't wait for anybody, mate. This control system's fast approaching, and I thought, I need to get this information out there. People need to know that it's not them that's going crazy. it's this system. It's the people that's driving this system that are crazy. They're psychopaths, man. That's what they are. I've said this as well. I'd love to bloody sit in the meeting between you and the DWP just as a fly on the wall, just because they're agreeing this, Jordan. Somebody in those rooms are saying this is okay. We can do this. Somebody is. And I'd love to know who it is, because they deserve to be behind the bars.
100%. There's a lack of humanity, it seems, for the kind of the powers that be. Especially you experience that when you look at the places like the DWP, when there's a lot of sanctions, people, as you say, going hungry, and that kind of thing. And when did you learn, or where did you find out that there was quotas for sanctions? I
actually heard that years and years ago for a guy that his sister was high up in the DWP, and they said, aye, it is true.
Did you ever speak to anybody whilst
I've never spoken to anybody, but I have had a lot of communications for people, since I've left there, saying that what you're saying's right, mate. That's why I left the DWP. See, people that used to be work coaches that have left, a lot of them left in 2014-15, and that's just when Universal Credit started to come in.
Right,
that was when they first, so they obviously seen the writings on the wall, for that. But that's honestly, man. See, people ask me, what was your worst call? Or what was your worst calls? And honestly, Jordan, it's hard to say, because there's so many of them. This isn't just like, I said this to my work coach. I said, you're all right, mate. You've maybe got a few vulnerable claimants coming in once a week, maybe. I'm dealing with 15, 20 a day, at least. And that's on a good day. And there's that many harrowing stories, and that many of them that I can't even remember them all, because there's that many. And there's some of them that I've not been able to speak about on camera or anything like that, because they're so horrifying and so unique that the person would be able to identify themselves. There was a woman, she'd been through a harrowing ordeal. She really hadn't. I felt sorry for her, and she hadn't slept for ages. No wonder. And I had sat and had a conversation with her, because, like I say, I've read hundreds of books, and you learn, you start to learn, and because of the experience I've had as well. And she said to me at the end of the call, she said, look, Alan, because some days, you get 7-8 minutes for a call, but some days you would say, look, I need to throw that out here, and I'll make it back late, through the day, by making them shorter. And I was on the phone to her for about an hour, and she said to me at the end of the call, she said, Alan, I just want to thank you, because for giving me the time. I've not slept. I can't remember. I think it was 3 months or 3 weeks. I can't remember, but she hadn't slept for a while. She was tired. And she said, I'll actually sleep tonight now. I will actually sleep tonight now after speaking to you. And see, things like that, mate, honestly, that kept, people ask, what keep you going? Things like that kept you going. They would say, thank you. And no one's ever done anything like that for me, Alan. Thank you. That was constant. I should actually get that tattooed on me, that. No one's ever done anything like that for me on this line. Thank you very much, Alan. That was a constant saying that I was getting.
Was it? Aye, because I think a lot of people, as you say, they phone through and they deal with those robotic type people. Or they're phoning through. They're vulnerable, as you say. So they're not used to somebody actually sitting and taking the time. You realise you'll remember somebody that's kind a lot more than somebody that's a dick, or somebody that's just kind of neutral. And you get that a lot when you phone like places like the DWP. I've been lucky enough, I've not had to phone in anywhere like that in a while, but you know what I'm talking about. You get them, it's like a voicemail with a pulse. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, that's it. It's just, and this is the thing, and I say this, I used to say this all the time, mate. I know we have to follow these processes, but you can't just follow them. You're going to have to try and mix it. The process with a wee bit of heart.
I bet you need to deviate, you know what I'm talking about? You need to inject a bit of
humanity. Show your humanity, mate. You need to show your humanity. Empathy. The way I done it was, and I tried to say this in meetings, pretend that you are on that side of the phone. How would you want you to do this job? You can't go wrong, Jordan. You can't go wrong with that. If you do it like that, yes, you'll have to stay within the process, but you're not going to get nowhere near as bad a feedback as what you would get being a drone.
100%.
And that's what I tried to teach people. And obviously you're in your living room, so you don't know what people are doing. I did say to them, I said, look, let me teach these people how to do this my way, and not only will you not have such a high turnover, but the people on the other end of the phone will actually get a bit of help. And because they feel helped, they're not screaming at the people you're hiring. Thus, the people you're hiring are only walking out the door and you're having to bring in another person, and the same process happens because they're following the process without going through the heart. That's literally all you need to do. And I even had some of the dialogue I'd thingied up earlier on. There was loads of different things like that within the calls that I would say, just to make it easier. And I would say to people, look, say it this way or say it that way. And they would often come back and say, thanks, Alan, that's making my life a lot easier. So there's, as I said the other week there's processes, but there's ways to do things as well.
Mm-hmm. Was there no at one point that your calls started to get monitored?
Listen, mate, mine's were monitored more than anybody's. And I said this to somebody. I said this to a coach. I says, look, I don't care what any of you say. I'm being monitored. I must be the most monitored agent in this bloody company. Because you can hear a click. Listen, mate, when you're taking 70 calls a day, 5 days a week, you can hear things. You know when you're on that call on your own, and you know when you're not. I just know. I could feel it. Like you could hear a wee click though, and you know somebody's listening. But yet, and I would often look for the actual markdowns and that to see what the score, and they never come through because they're just listening. I thought, you're just listening to see what I'm saying here, aren't you?
Right, I see.
Because I think the manager knew, because he kept asking me after I told him I was leaving, because I worked a 6-week notice period just so I could put the year in. And every time we had these meetings and that, he kept saying to me, so what is it you're going to do? And I'm like, well, I've already told you what I'm going to do. But I think he knew that I was going to reveal those processes.
What did you tell him you were going to do?
I just told him that I was starting a YouTube channel to do a health channel for perception change, which is part of it. I mean, it was part of it. I wasn't completely lying about that. It is part of it. But the main part was, the first video was, these bloody processes and what they're doing to people. I knew, he knew, like, he definitely knew. He would say he didn't, but he did, because that's what he kept asking me.
Mm-hmm. What gave you the idea to move on and do a YouTube channel?
Because I just seen loads of folk doing it, and it was weird, really weird, Jordan, because I'd thought to myself, well, on Instagram, that's the only social media I've got now, because it's made educational. And I'd seen, you get these posts, this is how you change your life, and they would give you lists on how you would do. And there was one I'd seen one day, and it's the only time I've ever seen this on it. Start a YouTube channel. Never did I see it before, and I've never seen it since on these lists. To change your life by starting a YouTube channel. And I was always terrified of it. As I said, my confidence was really, really low, like. And I thought, nah, I can't do this. Like, I'm never going to be able to do this. Until I heard somebody say, I think it might have been Jordan Peterson, the thing you're most scared of is the thing you're going to get the most out of. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, I'm terrified of this. The thought, because I've been, people would tell me for years, you should be on YouTube, even before I've done any customer service, because I managed to take in knowledge and regurgitate it in such a way where people would understand it. And they would always tell me to go on YouTube, but this was back when I was 20, 21 stone. It's like, no way I'm sitting on camera, because it's like, you need to sit and watch yourself. It's bad enough when you're looking like this. Luckily, because I was 2 years in customer service, seeing myself on camera and listening to calls back allowed me to get used to it. Uh-huh. But the main reason was I thought, well, I can get it to a bigger audience, and I'm absolutely terrified of it, which means I'm going to get quite a lot out of it. And I'm glad I did. I mean, I really am glad I done it. Like, whatever happens now, the information's out there. That's on the bloody record. And I can start to... I still need to build it, Jordan. I still don't want to be working 40 hours a week for another company. I still want to work for myself, but I'm willing to go out and put in like wee contracts and stuff like that just to see me through until I can get this properly up and running. Mm-hmm. But I see my future in obviously helping people in a customer service type role, obviously not within a company, like, but I'd like to try and get something set up where I could have one-on-one interactions, which I've tried through YouTube. But there's too many people out there that think that because you've interacted with them one-on-one and then you've given them the information, that then somehow that you're now their family member and they can just contact you whenever they need to. And I had to say to a guy the other day there, look, I'm not trying to offend you, but if I do for you, because I've learned difficulties and he's not really got anybody, and I wanted to help him, and it's been 3 months, and I've continued it on. It's been free of charge, so I wouldn't want to charge him, and it's just been, I'm getting messages from him about his health conditions, and I'm not a doctor, Jordan. I can't help you with that stuff. And I had to say to him, look, if I do for everyone else what I've done for you, I wouldn't have any time to manage my own life. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to offend you, but I need to be honest that I can't do for you what I'm not doing for everyone else, because to do it for everyone else would burn my cell out. See, you have to set boundaries, Jordan, and that's part of becoming awakened and conscious as well, because I could never do that before. I was a people pleaser. But you need to set these boundaries, because people, and I know people are hurting, they need help, and I'm more than happy to give you the information. I had to say to him, look, the way this works is that I contact you, I give you the information, and we move on, and that's the interaction done. Maybe there'll be a follow-up, like if you've put the information in and you've got a follow-up back and you say, look, what do I do? That's fine, I can follow up with that, but you can't phone me every time, and I had to say this and all, every time you've got a slight wee problem, that somehow I'm a wizard that's going to fix it for you. I've had people contacting me and all that, they seem to think that I am a wizard, that I can get them health benefits that they're not entitled to. I had to say to a guy, and they look at me, if you've no health conditions, if you've been to your doctor and you've been to all these tribunals and they're still not giving you these health conditions, you've obviously not got health conditions. I'm not a wizard, mate. I can't get you benefits that you're not entitled to. Christ, I'm struggling to get people the benefits they are entitled to because of this case managers that I'd mentioned before.
Because you have people that become codependent. That's what and they just think somebody's got to come and take all their troubles away. And
responsibility.
That's exactly it. They're not responsible, but they get people that are maybe like chancellors that kind of mess you. Like, I used to work at DWP. Can you help me get the PIP?
I mean, there's quite a few of them where people are saying, like, how do you do this and how do you do that? And that's, like I say, I had to say to that guy, look, if you've no health conditions, you've got no chance. I've spoke to people that have got health conditions. This is an all, like they say, these foreigners get these health conditions. They do get it more than Britain, but they don't all get it. They do all put in for it as soon as they get here.
Was that like the PIP
work capability assessments and PIP and limited capability for work and work related activity and all that stuff? Because when an asylum seeker comes here or an immigrant comes here, they've obviously heard for the people that's been here before, if you phone up and say you've got this health condition, you'll get this extra money. If people in Scotland, Jordan, like here or whatever, was to move to Spain and something like that, you would try it. We would all try it. Of course we would. We can't hold it against them. I'm sick of saying that to people that get hatred. It's like, it's not their fault. They're only doing what you would be doing, given the same opportunity. You want to hold somebody accountable, hold the people behind the government that's allowing it to happen. But you get chancellors that are wanting you to try and get them benefits that they're not entitled to. You get chancellors that'll say, Alan, I think your videos are brilliant. If you do me a one-on-one call with a consultation, this one lasted about an hour and a half, and I never asked for this, so I'll donate you £100. That's fine. And I never took the donation before because I thought I'd trust this guy, and then he never done it. He never sent it across. But I don't care, mate. I'm not. It's not about finances for me. Like, it's a principle as well. Like, with your time in that.
That's being a man of your word kind of thing as well.
Of course,
if you're going
to
say it, then don't bullshit it. What kind of consultation was it?
Just about his benefits, about what he was entitled to, and he had his own problems with him and his daughter or something like that, and he wasn't sure about what he had to do next with regards to his benefits and what he needed to get. And I ran through it all from start to finish, top to bottom, about how his benefits worked and what he was entitled to and what he wasn't entitled to, and what to do and what not to do. Everything, like I used to do when I was doing the job.
Right, okay.
And it was just like, I never even phoned them back. I thought there's no point.
Nah, definitely no. It's like that way. It's as simple if you don't say something unless you're going to follow through with it.
The thing is, if he ends up in another mishap, Jordan, he can't phone me.
Exactly. Just shot yourself in it.
That's it.
So see when you posted your first video, and you've posted a good couple of videos now. I'm not too sure how many.
41, I think.
41. So have you had any kind of bite back for the DWP? Have you ever heard anybody the work phase get in contact with you? Have you heard any kind of backlash?
I've had a couple of people. Not a backlash, but I've had a couple of people, like case managers. I've had one case manager who came to me and said, Alan, I think it's brilliant what you're doing. I'll keep you updated with any processes change, which they have done.
Right, okay, so kind of there's people on your side.
Aye.
Right,
yeah.
I see.
So I've had people and ex-colleagues that have came to me and said, look, this has changed or that's changed. I've had other people that are still on the telephone lines. There's actually one that contacted me last week. I've not got back to them yet. I've not had a chance, but I'll need to get back to them to say, because they've offered to do the same. Just to say, look, I'll give you the information when the process changes or if it gets any worse or whatever. Like, so I've had a lot of that. I've had a lot of trolls though. See, trolls are there to sow doubt, Jordan. That's what trolls do, because the people that run these trolls know what doubt can do and how destructive it can be. So all they need to do is sow it. That's it. As long as they sow the doubt, that's it. I say this all the time. If you're getting into something and you doubt yourself, it doesn't matter if the whole country doubts you. That matters not. See, if you go into something and you're doubting yourself, you've already lost, because the doubt, well, it's doubt, isn't it? It's nothing concrete. It's doubt. You're not sure. You're, I don't know. I'll go or no. That's what it is.
It holds you right back.
Of course it does. So they're sowing this doubt, and what they were doing with me was they were trying to tell me that I'd breached this Secrets Act, I was going to prison, and they're trying to sow that doubt into you and that fear and that worry so that you'll unravel. And I'd said to them, I says, look, I've been dealing with your type for years, mate. I know exactly how you operate. In fact, so much so that I know exactly if you're a troll or not by the bloody first sentence that you use. You can tell by the language that they use. It's just so obvious to me now, like, and I've got hundreds of them contacting me. Oh, I used to work for Teleperformance, and I've got people saying to me, name your manager so that he deserves to be named. And I think if I was to name him, I would then be liable. Like, do you know what I mean?
So you could definitely face some backlash.
So that's why. So I think they are trying to think of that because they know that I don't work for them, mate. I'm using my free speech. I'm exposing what I believe is fraud through taxpayer money being deducted that shouldn't be being deducted, and it's pushing people into poverty. And by the law contracts, they're not allowed to do this. They are not allowed to bloody do this stuff. They have to give people, I can't remember the exact wording for it, the correct amount to sustain their life. They're not allowed to sanction these things, but they are sanctioning it. But we're giving consent because what they're doing is they're putting these commitments out and getting you to sign your commitments, what you need to do, or you don't get your bloody account. And then they're just saying, well, you've signed the commitments, and they're using all this against you. So we need to be aware of how consent works, Jordan.
Aye. No, 100%. I think as well, because I've done commitments in the past. I think you're just like, tick this box, tick this box. You don't read it. There's a lot of reading. Plus,
everyone's
as well, people
different.
that's the thing. I think they go through it. The work coach goes through it, but I've never actually read it to find out if what I'm signing is what's been discussed.
Who does, though?
I know. Maybe it's like the fine print in any contract you sign. No, I mean, no many people.
We've not been taught, though, have we?
No.
We haven't been taught, because everything runs in the law of contracts. You're a contract yourself. You through your birth certificate that was created as your straw man when you were born, and it's traded on the bloody stock market. Nobody knows this stuff. We don't know any of this stuff. We are natural resources to these people in so many different ways, like in so many deep ways. This is just obviously the basic level here, but we are a natural resource to these people. They need us more than we need them.
No,
that's for sure.
I totally agree with that, man. I totally agree with that. Because we are, it's like, see with school as well, you're taught to be an employee, never to be an employer.
Well, there's school has got its benefits.
Don't get me wrong, you learn to read, learn to write, but it's like you're
read,
never
write, in community, to learn pals and other relationships. See, beyond that, Jordan, it is fucking useless. Sorry for swearing, but it is absolutely useless. Like, honestly, it's a complete irrelevance to human life. It doesn't teach. Well, why is it, right? If that was any good, that when I went through that awakening I spoke to you about, and I've probably read about at least 200 books since I've done that. It was more like, but it's at least that. Why is it that everything that I had to learn in school, I've had to unlearn all that and start with a blank sheet of paper? And why is it that if school was so beneficial to people, why was I not at this level of intelligence when I left? Why have I had to start again when I left and only brought it to this level when I'm now 37? If it's of any use to anybody.
No, you definitely learn more for life than you do for school. School, as you say, it gives you the basics, but you only get so far in the basics, and I use the term far loosely because you don't get very far. You can get a basic job, you can get a basic income, but you can't elevate, you can't realise your true potential. Like, I'm starting a business right now and see all the stuff, as I say, it's like I feel like I'm back in school. It's like where you don't learn this stuff, you don't learn how to build websites, you don't learn how to contact employers, you know what I mean? You don't learn how to shoot and build, you know what I'm talking about? You're just taught to fucking work.
You need to teach yourself, mate, and that's obviously exactly what you've done, and I'll tell you, it's harder, like, but see at the end of it, mate, it's more worth it.
It's definitely worth it, because I remember somebody saying this is what hard feels like, and that's exactly it. It's like, and when it's hard, it's that Jordan Peterson, you go back to it's growth.
It is, mate.
When you're scared, when it's tough, these are the points that people give up.
And you build new parts. This isn't a philosophy. I've done a video on this. You actually build these new parts. Actually mentioned in the video, I'd seen this small video once where there was two balls and they had two trajectories. One was in a straight line and the other one was up and down. And see the ball that was going up and down, the one with ups and downs, it actually got to its destination quicker than it when it was in a straight line. In other words, it was saying a life of up and downs will get to your destination quicker than what a straightforward line will. And the reason that is because when we put ourselves into these new stressful situations and these new situations that we were scared at, i.e. my example, the YouTube channel, once we do and complete that and realise we're not made of glass, it builds this new part. So when you're climbing up the hill, when using the analogy of the two trajectories of the ball that's going up and down, when you climb to that hill, yes, it's harder, but you're building these new parts while you're climbing that hill. So when you get to the top, you sail through the next part of it.
Exactly.
And then you get to the next part and you build, and that's why that video explains why you get to your destination quicker with ups and downs, because when you're putting yourself, like Jordan Peterson says, into these new situations, you're building these new parts. And again, that's not philosophy. There's literature and science, there's data to prove that that that's what's actually
100%.
happening.
And see, when you talk about the ball, it's in a straightforward trajectory. That isn't representative of life, because whether you challenge yourself or no, life's going to challenge you.
Exactly.
Whether you like it or no. So it's when they talk about what problems, everybody's got problems. You think, I've got money issues, I've got housing issues. Once you acquire a house and acquire a bit of money, your problems aren't over, they just change. It's what you should aim for is having a life of good problems.
Absolutely.
Having too much money to spend, that's a good problem. No, I mean, like managing 10 people, that's a good problem.
It's brilliant, mate, because that's the way I look at that is, right, there's life, you've just said, is challenging, right? It's challenging, it doesn't matter. But would you not rather set the challenges yourself
100%.
rather than have the challenges fired at you that you don't know that's coming? Because that is the only difference between being like somebody that's not knowing what's going on and somebody that's living their own life. The difference is that when you're living your own life on your own terms, you're setting your own challenges, when you're not, when you're living in somebody else's, they're throwing the challenges at you.
Exactly, you can't preempt them. And as you say, when you challenge yourself, you develop these tools and develop these skills, so when life does challenge you, you're prepared. You
become a new person, Jordan, and it puts an armour on me. Honestly, mate, see if I've learned this stuff, learned the guitar and I've learned Spanish, and it puts new armour on you. It gives you... I mean, I used to be quite an insecure person. I wouldn't like too much being in big crowds until I'd had a drink and stuff like that. I just didn't like it. And I would walk into a bloody shop or whatever, and this one was all right. You think everyone was looking at you. Obviously nobody's bothered, but that's the way you're looking at it.
That's your perception.
But see now, I just don't care, mate. I couldn't. I mean, and the worst it is, I've put myself out there. I just don't care. I feel like I'm me now. I feel like I'm the person who I'm supposed to be. And you're only going to do that by doing the things that you want to do, learning the things you want to learn, and living life on your own terms. And you'll never ever do that if you've got a pal sitting next to you saying you'll never be able to do this and you'll never be able to do that. Even if you've got a family member telling you that, I'm sorry, they're not serving you. If you think you can do something and you've got somebody sitting next to you saying you can't, whoever that someone is, you need to lose them.
Definitely. That's the thing. It's like you need to shed all the old skin, and it's liberation, freeing yourself from the prison of other people's thoughts and other people's opinions, because a lot of people go through their life and they never realise this. That's why, but like, people, as much as like social media technology does get a bad name, it has got a lot of benefits, like having access to this information. Whereas before, I can watch motivational videos, I find a realm of relatability, and that's what I kind of think my podcast is for a lot of people. Is people can relate to it. People realise their problems aren't isolated, because that's where we find ourselves. We think we're the only people suffering. We're the only people who go to these problems, but you realise, wait a minute, somebody else has this problem. Somebody else has this scenario that falls upon them. Wait a minute, it's not just me. And suddenly you don't feel alone.
Well, you just touched on it there, Jordan, didn't you? You said these motivational videos that everyone's got access to now, and that's what changed my thinking back in 2014. Before I went through the awakening to thing of the knowledge, I started watching these motivational videos on YouTube, like with the ones that was in Batman and stuff like that, and it was just all clipped. Some of them are brilliant, like, and they really did get me to start changing my thinking. Now, back in the 90s, we didn't really have access to stuff like that. Not those types of videos. I mean, to get alternative information, you maybe had to get an encyclopedia or something like that, or go to a library. But now, and go to the library, that back in the 90s was a chore. It was a chore for people, but whereas now you don't need to do that. You don't even need the library. You could just get into your phone and boom, the age of information, you can learn whatever you want. And it's about changing the information that played. I've used this analogy many times, that if you're watching a DVD and you're screaming at the bloody screen, wanting the DVD to change, it's not going to change by screaming at the screen, is it? You need to go into the DVD player and remove the disc and put the new disc in. It's exactly the same way as we need to go inside of ourselves and change the information that's playing inside our heads, and then we can change the world that's out here. That's reality, man. That's what I've found it to be, and I can tell you it's not easy. It isn't easy. You need to stick with it.
It's ugly. You need to face yourself, man. You face, and for a lot of people who's been hiding for themselves, you need to redesign the interior.
Shining torches in the dark places, Jordan. That's
exactly it. And it's a hard process, but sometimes when you end up at rock bottom, you end up at the lowest point in your life, you've really got nowhere to turn, so you need to kind of look within.
Oh, you do, aye. I mean, if you always... And again, this is another saying that I'd heard right at the start of it that changed my thinking. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. And it's... Listen, I've for years done that, thinking that I deserve better, but I was still doing all that, the same stuff, you know, drinking, taking drugs, fighting with folk, all the stupid things, and still thinking I deserve more. but you're doing the same thing every week, mate. And you're expecting different results, which is the true definition of madness, as Albert Einstein said.
Nah, that's exactly that.
And it's like, until you change that, that's going to be your life. And I get so many people that they dot from boyfriend to boyfriend to boyfriend, or to girlfriend to girlfriend to girlfriend, and they think that they're the problem. No, who's the common denominator here? Well, you are, because you're the one that's going through all the partners. And you're the problem, so it's you that needs to change. But so many people say, no, it's the partner. I need to get rid of that partner and move on to the next gen. And then the same thing happens there, and then they move on to the next one. And some people go through their lives like that, never ever finding happiness, because they need to change themselves. It's not the partner they need to change, it's in here.
100%. See, with your YouTube channel, what is the end goal?
I've never actually been asked that before. I've not actually thought about it. I would say that, well, obviously, like anybody, financial freedom would be the end goal, Jordan. But the first goal and the main goal was to, because I said there's no point me just doing a video, right, and changing my life. At the start, I said that to myself. I said, that's pointless, because I've got the information where I could help people change their lives, like what I've done, perception change. So if the goal was anything, was to get people to take responsibility for their lives.
Right, okay.
And then that was the first goal. And then the end goal would be obviously for financial freedom, where I could sit and do these videos and not have to worry about bills and stuff, and help people at the same time and set my own day. That's the dream for most days, I think, is it not?
100%. And we live in an age where that's very much a possibility. It's like we've got these devices at our hands. You can build a business off your smartphone.
Well, we would have had, again, the 90s, Jordan, what would you, to sit and do this, or to do what I've done on YouTube, what would you have to have spent back then to get all that stuff and get it out there? And
just to get the equipment, I mean, get it out there. To get it out there, you would be lucky, because you'd be relying on some kind of broadcaster to put you out there. And
you'd need to cold call, wouldn't you?
100%, man. And that's just to get even any modicum of exposure. Whereas we're the masters of our own destiny right now. I remember hearing a quote just the other day. I was at a workshop, and somebody says, they quoted somebody, and what they said is, it's only a smartphone if you're making money from it.
Aye.
Otherwise, it's a dumb phone. And that's what I realised. I was like, that is so true. And it's like the potential you've got. But I think,
or a cell phone.
A cell phone. I like that. SEWL, that's a fucking idea for you.
Well, it's that. But that's that. I seen that in a post day, mate, and it's cell phone, because most people are in prison with them. I see it every day, Jordan. I see people walking by my window every day, mate, and they're either pulling the phone out their pocket to look at it, or looking at it, or just finished looking at it to put it back in their pocket. And the amount of people I see that they come into it, like, they see, I don't know if it's just me, like, but I've got to walk by them and they'll pull their phone out as if it's and I say this to people: don't pull your phone out in an awkward moment. Stop using that. There's so many people, I don't know why.
A comfort thing.
It's like a comfort thing, and I probably used to do it myself, mate.
A dopamine hit.
Aye, I probably used to do it myself, but I try and bring my screen time down, and the only way I'll do that is by either playing like one of them, like guitar, or reading a book. And I've noticed, like, I've got my screen time down to about 6.5 hours a day, which is what I thought that's what it should be, because I'm using it for working things and stuff like that. So that 6.5 hours, I'm quite happy with that. Whereas before it was 10, 11 sometimes.
Because when you include your content, though, when you're actually filming on it, know what I mean? You're still using your phone, but for different means and methods. But I think when you come back to getting people to take responsibility, that's the thing as well. You find why, like, big pharma, there's a lot of, like, people on prescriptions, a lot of people on benefits, and that is because they want to be nannied. It's like a nanny state. They want to be somebody to come along and go, no, I've got the one hit solution, I've got the drug you can take, I've got this that will help you. They don't realise, wait a minute, I need to take a bit of responsibility here. I need to look within. I need to do the hard stuff. And people are just unwilling to do it. And I'm not saying that's the majority, but there's a lot of people like that.
Oh, it's disheartening, Jordan. I'll give you a quick example of that. There was a guy one day, right, he just got out of prison. It was working for DWP and Universal Credit. I think he just got out of prison. I did. And he'd been at the job centre, and he had a phone claim, which means he has to phone up and we set it up for him over the phone. So every time he needs to manage his claim, he needs to phone up and we do it for him.
Right.
Well, because he'd been in prison, it had been closed down. And he'd been at the job centre and had a meeting with his work coach. Now, I wasn't there, I don't know, but his work coach must have told him this is all sorted out. It probably was to a point, or something would have sorted out for him. But the claimant was under the understanding that the claim was set up again and his payment was ready. So he's phoned me, he's got through to me after he's left the job centre saying, I'm phoning up for my payment. I says, mate, what do you mean payment? I says, there's no claim here, it's closed down. He says, I'm just out of prison. I says, right, okay. He says, I've just been into the job centre and the work coach said that it's all sorted out. And I said, well, what's sorted out? My claim. I said, well, it's not. I said, it's closed. And he started, well, I've got mental health problems, he says. And I was like, right, okay, you've got mental health problems. I says, does your mental health problems prohibit you from making a phone call? And he sat there and he thought he couldn't say anything because he was holding the phone to me. So he knew what I was saying. And he was like, no, it doesn't, obviously. You know that? I says, I know that. And that's why I was asking you. I said, so would you like me to set up this claim? Oh, my work coach says this is already done. I said, your work coach, mate. I said, it's your responsibility. Your responsibility, not his. He can't phone up this number and make your claim for you. You need to do that. That's why you're phoning me now. But he was using his mental health problems. I've got mental health problems, so I not only can I not do that, I shouldn't need to do it. You need to sort that for me. It's things like that. And that's constant.
Entitlement.
That's constant, mate. See the amount of people, the amount of young guys that you speak to on the phone and you say, there's nothing wrong with you. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you, but you've got this sickness benefit because you don't want to go to the job centre. I get that. You don't want to go to the job centre, but I used to say this all the time. See, if you're well-minded, you're a well body, heart and soul, decent mind, and you're selling you're saying to yourself that you're not well, trying to get sickness benefits, you're selling yourself short. And I used to say that quite a lot to people like that were looking for work capability assessments. It's kind of, if you've not got a health condition, you're selling yourself short. You're better than that, mate. But so many people just say, I don't want to get a job. I understand that. It's soul destroying if you get the wrong one. And it is. This is why you need to work through that, though, because you'll never become a character if you don't. But what they want to do is they want to miss that side out and they want to go straight to the sickness benefits where they don't need to go to the job centre and explain what they're doing to look for work. But they're actually, and they're getting their rent paid and their sickness benefits, which is, from what I can see, it's a standard living wage.
Aye, because you find that, see, with a lot of people, and don't get me wrong, it's not the case for most people, but you do get a lot of people that do it, they just go on the sick and then they just want to sit on the sick and no work.
That's it.
And it's like, see, for me, man, I can't go a day without doing something productive. Don't get me wrong, I went through a period where I'd have loved nothing more than that, been on the sick, but I was out drinking, taking drugs and all that. That was my life.
Stuff.
That was my life at that point. See, now that's the stuff of nightmares. I could not think I'd done anything worse. But there's people that are stuck in that rut, and as you say, if you just tell yourself, you become entitled, and then that's the thing as well. You're at the mercy of the DWP because they might be like, right, we want to do what is it to do it when they reassess your claim?
I just had like a reassessment.
Reassess your sickness, and then you need to go and basically pretend that you're no well, and then it's suddenly it's just your fate hasn't been engineered by you.
You mentioned it there, John. You get in the comfort zone, and it's very hard to get out. I heard something that's actually one of the quotes that made me comment, because quotes are brilliant. They can help you live your life. And I've actually just forgot there what it was.
Talk about coming out
the comfort zone. Aye, the comfort zone's a nice place to be, but nothing grows there.
That
hit me hard.
The dream killer.
So it's a dream killer, mate. And there's another one. Your salary is your boss's way to forget your dreams. That's what they pay you to forget your dreams. Word to that effect. Anyway.
You're renting your time. Well, somebody says to me, you're renting your time, but I don't believe you're exactly renting it because you don't get it back.
You're not getting a fair return.
You're selling. You're getting paid a wage, but you're never getting that time back.
Everything's energy.
Exactly.
Everything is energy.
Time and energy, you don't get that back. It's not as if you rent it and then they return it back to you. No, they give you a wage and you sell them it because you don't get that. It's not as if you get fucking, it's like I rent you like a fucking a laptop. You give me that back. I don't rent you my time because you're not giving me time back. You're giving me money, so I'm selling it.
You write a song, right? You write a song that takes you, say it takes you, I don't know, an hour to write it and maybe the same again to record it, right? And it becomes number one, it's worldwide hit, like that Oliver Anthony over in America, what done that with the one last year.
That guy, ginger guy.
Aye.
The kind of a hillbilly.
Aye,
I don't know how to describe him, but kind of fucking
made
farmer.
Fortunes off of that. He's became a millionaire out of it, right? That's a fair return for your energy.
100%.
Because you've only done a couple of hours and you've got this. It's changed his life. Folk like us, John, going out and we want a building site for 50 hours a week or whatever it is, and sometimes you can earn okay money. But if you're only doing that for just above minimum wage or something, you're knackered every week. You're only just paying your bills. You've maybe got a wee bit left to buy a pair of trainers or something like that. But that's it. But what I noticed on the line, and I had this discussion with loads of people, it was like the Victorian times. Back in the Victorian times, right, they worked 12 hours. factory, back-breaking work. They would come in at night, 6, 7 o'clock at night. They would maybe have enough coal to put in the fire, to have something to eat. They would go to sleep, and that was it. That was what they had. That was just enough to live on. This is what people are coming back to. So I speak to people that, again, even 10, 15 years ago, they would never have been anywhere near universal credit. But because of the way everything's set up now, they need it to top up their wages. It's all planned because they knew that people would gravitate to an easier life because they think, well, I can work 20 hours and get paid for my kids and get universal credit topped up on top of that. And it's brilliant for single mums. It is. It really is, because it allows them to give their kids a decent life. But like you've just said, there too many people take advantage of it, which the state know is exactly what's going to happen, because most people will do that. And everybody's then at the behest of DWP and this bloody computer system, which, and I said this to a 17-year-old girl who was on with her mum one day. Her mum was helping her. I said, just tell her to get as far away from this benefit system as she can. She was going to be an air hostess. I said, that's brilliant. I said, tell her to get as far away from this bloody system as she can. And well, she did. She turned around and said to her, here's the guy on the phone that works here that's telling you to keep away from this system. So here's hoping that she listens to that and sticks to, because if I wish somebody told me stuff like that when I was 17, Jordan. I didn't have like a mentor above me. My family life was difficult. It was people in my life that were my mum and dad, that were partners that didn't like me for day one, and they worked very hard to come between us, which they almost did, and I never got the support and parentage that I should have got, because, and I understand it now because I'm conscious now that, especially my mum's side, she was trying to appease her partner, so she has to try and balance that. My dad was the same. He's trying to appease her partner, who both absolutely despised me for day one, for I was 7 years old, and I still can't get into the mind of somebody that would despise a 7-year-old for what reason. I don't get that. And I was assaulted by them verbally and physically, like, so. But that's part of life. It makes you who you are, like. But it's about being true to yourself. Don't ever let anyone let you sell out your family. If you got a partner and they don't accept your bloody family, you need to get rid of them. I don't care how good they look. I do not care how good they look. If they're coming into your life and you've got kids, they need to accept your children and they need to treat them as if they're their own. If they're not willing to do that, then they need to leave, or you need to leave, because it causes so many problems and it holds so many kids back. I mean, I'm 37 and I've only just sorted my life out, Jordan, and it's because I'm not blaming it all on that. I made choices that I shouldn't have made, but the choices were made in spite of what was happening in my home life. I knew I wasn't getting the support. I knew I had two people that despised me greatly, that were working against me. And when I ended up on heroin, I would imagine it made them very, very happy. They'll not be so happy now, but they certainly were for a long time. And I said this the other day, there are some of the things they'd said about me over the years, their comments haven't aged very well, saying that I was a menace to society and I was going to become a problem for society and all the rest of it. Well, maybe that might have been true, like, but if I didn't have two people working against me, it might not be. Because think, kids rebel, boys rebel more than girls, like. I mean, I was quite connected in, like, and I still am. It's why I've awakened as well as what I have, like. But I knew something was wrong. I knew there was something wrong with the home life and the situation, and you start to rebel. You start hanging about with older boys, smoking hash, and then you start taking ecstasy and then speed and coke. Before you know it, you're smoking crack and heroin, and it's a destructive path, and it's not the drug you take, it's the company you keep. But if you've got people in your home life that you're not family with, that are actually there with your parents and they're working against you, then you're going to rebel against that. So any parent, just honestly spend time with your kids and try and find out who they are and try and give them the best advice you can. If they say they want to become a rock star or an actor, don't laugh at them, support them, man, because they obviously think they can do it.
Aye,
whereas if I'd said something like that back then, and I did, I used to say stuff, I got laughed at by these people, but they're not laughing now. I mean, I wouldn't trade places with them, Jordan, if I was the last person on earth and they were the last person on earth and there was a contract on my head. Honestly, I just would not trade places with these people, because I knew they were always deeply disturbed, and how deeply disturbed they've been has been revealed to me, obviously. To do what they've done to a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kid and then hide behind that they were the adult trying to do the right thing. I'm sorry, like, but you've got problems, man, because they've never changed yet. Like,
100%. Do you think, the adverse childhood experiences is what's made you care so much about people that are struggling? Do you think that's where that comes from?
It is definitely where it comes from. It's because I knew, like, when I was a child, I'd seen some stuff that I shouldn't have seen, like, and some violent alcohol had a lot to answer for, which is why I don't touch it now, and I don't drink alcohol. I've got no desire to. I'll never put that shit back in my body again. It's one of the worst things you can put in your body, but alcohol had a lot to do with it, and it definitely did shape you. It shapes you. I wouldn't change any of it now, like. I wouldn't go back and say no, because we used to live in a place called Bogside. It's just outside Newmains, and then my papa and that, he owned the land and the houses there. There was a chalet and a house. We stayed in the chalet, he stayed in the house, and then we moved to Bath, and we ended up moving into Newmains. And I always say this, like, the first 7 years of my life was like a fairy tale. Oh, the whole family around. My great grandpa was on the top of the hill. He had his own business. We didn't rely on the outside world for anything. My papa worked in the oil rigs. We were in this, like, wee world of our own, and we had an ice cream van as well, and it just didn't seem like we needed the outside world for anything. My great grandpa had a coal business. It was all coal fires, and then everything left. They all left, and it dispersed, and we moved into Newmains with this violent guy because mum and dad had split up, and it went for 7 years of heaven and what a real childhood should be to 7 years of absolute hell, into a lot of alcoholism, a lot of drugs, domestic violence, all that stuff. And it was a shock for a 7-year-old kid to go from that environment to the environment that I'd went to. And there didn't seem to be a lot of people around that was willing to do anything about it. That's why if any of my nephews come and tell me that anything like that was going on, it would be hellfire and brimstone. Like, whereas back then it didn't seem to be. I kind of get it, like, but it definitely shaped me. There's no doubt about it, and it's why I don't understand how people can commit crimes against children. I don't understand that. I just don't get it. Even now, like, I've got a couple of wee nephews and that, and I can gauge it now, because I think, imagine if I'd done to them what was done to me. I try and put myself in that position, because it's important that you try and do that, like, and I can't get myself into that position. There's no situation in my life where I could imagine me doing something like that, no matter what was happening to me. And I do get it now. A lot of it was envy, because they could obviously see that I had something about me, and the guy, he had a shitty upbringing, like, so he's seen my home life and didn't like it. Like, there's a lot of it's all jealous, mate. There's a lot of jealousy.
See people like they function at the lower ends of depravity, man, because it's like, if you look at people, I've been in jail myself, man, but see, there's a lot of people. You can justify a lot of crimes. No saying they're justifiable, but if you get in a fight and somebody pulls out a knife, you can understand. You can see that. You might not agree with it. It's no saying it's justifiable, but you can say, right, I can see how that has led to that. When you're committing crimes against children, you can't really find like a kind of offence post on that.
Exactly.
It's just there's certain things that are just inexcusable.
You're walking about a scheme, right? You're in a rough scheme, and there's a lot of stabbings and slashings going on in it, right? And you're a young guy, and you've maybe been threatened or you've been chased or something. What do, Jordan? You've got to think, well, if they're carrying knives, I'm going to have to try and protect myself. I don't condone it. Absolutely. I can understand, like you just said, where they're coming from. If they're in a rough scheme or something and they're getting slashed and chased with knives, they would maybe think that the best idea would be to arm and protect myself, which obviously isn't, because that's how tragedy happens. But like you've just said there, you can kind of understand that. You can kind of see, right, that's why you've done. I don't agree with what you've done carrying a knife, but I can understand why you've done it. But when it comes to kids, there's no situation that makes it all right. There is nothing that you can say that, well, I had a tough childhood myself, so I'm going to make this kid's childhood a little bit harder. I don't operate like that. The way I look at it is that I've had a tough time in my childhood, and even in my adulthood that was self-inflicted. I'm not going to look to make or bring any more pain into the world. So what I'll need to do is I need to try and become a better person. If you've had mishaps and you've been treated badly and it's went wrong and disaster struck, don't use that to be a bad person. Use it to become a better person, because that's the only way we're going to change this world. Going out and starting fights and wars and continuing to contribute to the destruction of society is not going to help us, Jordan. As you look out there the day, mate, look out there at there's people that are on the breadline, and it's getting worse and worse and worse, and there's people even saying that the state of their hometowns they're getting into, and things aren't getting looked after. And I can see it even where I live, which is a really nice place, but it's starting to people are just letting go a wee bit, and it's because of everything that's going on in the world. And we need to try and sort of go against that and try and do the right thing. Do the right thing no matter what the consequences are going to be to yourself. Like, for example, I left my job. I wanted to do the right thing, to tell people the truth. The consequences are me leaving my job and giving up my salary. But I had to do what's right, because I could have stayed there. I would have got worse mentally, Jordan. I would have got worse mentally anyway, and it would probably ended up bad. It probably ended bad. So it's better just to end on a positive note and do the right thing. So that's the way I looked at it.
You need to listen to your body after a while. I done the exact same thing. I left my job because I wanted to go full time in my production company. But the same thing as well. It was more, if I didn't have that, it was time for me to leave. The writing was on the wall that way. It was just affecting my mood, my mental health, and times before I've stayed in jobs well past when I should have. And I started to realise that your body's smart. Your body knows stuff that your mind won't tell you.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you just need to listen. Exactly, your heart. And it goes back to that thing when you're talking about, there's people that have similar childhood experiences, but some people use that as an excuse for their actions, and some people use that as an excuse for their goodness.
Aye.
It's all ties back to responsibility.
It does.
It's be responsible. That's the thing. I remember I'm reading a book, The Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Mark Manson.
I've seen it. I've not read it.
Really good book, because he talks about it. He's like, not everything that's happened to you is your fault, but it's your responsibility.
Aye. Mm-hmm.
And what that means is, it might not be your fault it happened to you, but you need to be responsible for how you react to it.
Yep.
And an amazing quote I really liked was, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. That spoke to me, that, because I was for years irresponsible. I would blame everybody else, my actions, my problems, everything was outwards.
I need to do this because they done that.
Exactly. It was excuses, it was the lot. See, when I started taking responsibility for my life, and that's only in the past few years, it's like, it's opened up another reality for me where anything's possible, and I can apply it. I'm capable of it, whereas before I couldn't achieve it and I couldn't hold down a job. I can do whatever I want. It's as if I've unlocked the next level of life, and I'm sure you can relate to that.
Well, there you are. Exactly. There you are. We're obviously two different guys that have got different things going on in our personal lives. We look at different things, and yet we've came to the same conclusion about responsibility and how it opens up other avenues and it changes your life. So anyone that's listening to this, I don't care what your name is. I don't care what you've done. I don't care if you were the teacher's pet or you were the best at football, the best at school, or the most intelligent. It does not matter. I don't care if you fail. If you failed at every job you've ever had, I have as well. It doesn't make you a failure. It just means you're meant for something else. That's it. That's
exactly it. Everything happens for a reason, man. Yeah. I truly believe that. And sometimes it doesn't make sense right now. I think life is the greatest storyteller of all, because see, when you land where you're meant to land, you're going to realise everything that happened was meant to happen for a reason.
Yep.
But it's not until you get there and you look back. Life is lived forward. Is it lived forward and reflected on backwards? I don't know. I was trying to be philosophical.
I mean, there's something like Denzel Washington says it, don't fall back, fall forward.
That's exactly it, man. Don't be looking in the rear view mirror. Not I'm talking about, just go forward, and then you realise once you do turn around and look back, it all made sense.
It's all perception though. You can fall back and say, that hurt and this is all over. Or you can fall forward and say, that hurt, but it's built something new to me and I'm going to try again. That's all it is. It's like, there's quotes, right? I've said this before. This is why the Bible is written allegorically, because quotes can tell you how to live your life. They can. It doesn't. The Bible's. It's like an esoteric document. It's an allegorical document. It's symbolic. It's not. It doesn't literally happen like that. It's the way to live your life. It's to teach you about life. Well, there's a quote that it really helped me, right? And I used to go in and I would start a job and I'd be like, this isn't for me, and I would quit and I'd move on to the next one and move on to the next thing and just keep quitting. And there was one that spoke to me that said, if you're chopping down a tree, right, and you've got an axe and you start hitting that tree at 1,000 different places or 10,000 different places, the tree's not going to fall. It's just going to have 10,000 different marks on 10,000 different places. Whereas if you hit that tree at the same place 10,000 times, it's going to fall. You need to stay focused on the goal. In other words, you can't just hit it at one bit and say, that didn't work, I'll try it over here. That didn't work, I'll try it up there. You keep hitting it in the same place and eventually it'll be your day. And when I realised that, I thought, boom, that's where I've been going wrong. That's what I've been doing wrong. I've been going and I've been trying to follow other people down their path, and, you're doing that job, I'll do that job with you. So I didn't have to think for myself. That doesn't work either. You need to get onto your own path. And people ask me, what books did you read and what videos have you watched? And I say, look, I'll give you them, like, but just because they work for me doesn't mean to say they're going to do the same for you. Aye. You need to try and find your own path.
100%, man. You need to find, like, two of us could read the same book and take different meanings for it.
Exactly. It's like those things that you see when someone is like, they're standing like a triangular prism. Someone will be standing viewing it from this end and it'll be a triangle to them. And then another person will be viewing it from the side and it'll be a rectangle. And they could stand there and argue. I'm right because I'm looking at a triangle. And the person will say, well, I'm right because I'm looking at a rectangle. They're both right because they're both looking at it from a different perspective. And that's the same what you've just said about the
life.
book.
That's just life.
It's just we're all different, mate, because it would be boring if we weren't.
100%, mate. That's the beauty of life, man. It's all things.
This is amazing. This is an amazing. This is magic, Jordan. This world and this universe and you and your heart chakra and your energy. It's magic, mate. Put it to use, because I'll tell you what they bastards that are running this place are selling you ain't the truth, like.
Nah, 100%.
That ain't the way it is, like.
No, definitely. See, what is your view? Where do you see the DWP and like the HMRC? Where do you see that leading? Like right now, since you left with the universal credit, where do you see that ending up?
I see that ending up with the HMRC. I'm not sure, but the DWP and it will need to be restructured. Listen, if we're going to have a shot at changing this world, that needs to be one of the first things that has to be restructured. People need to start getting their rightful entitlement, because there's people out there that are on the sick that need it, Jordan, and they're not getting it because too many people are applying that don't need it. We need to restructure this, and you can't monitor that without spying on people. So that's why you need to teach people to become a better person and take responsibility, because a good person wouldn't do such a thing, because they would be thinking, well, I'm not selling myself short like that. It's only bad people that would do that. I'm not saying you're a bad person. You're not a good person. I'm not saying you're evil. But you're selling yourself short.
Dishonest.
You're selling this world short. You're selling other people short. And we've had enough of that. That's why we're here. That's why the world's is in the mess it's in. Because people haven't been living honestly. And I've contributed to that. I've been in prison, violent. I've done things I'm not proud of. I've hurt people with, I've done some serious damage in fights and stuff like that, which I'm not proud of. It's nothing to be proud of. But as young men, especially in Scotland, it seems to be the way the culture is, that's what you need to aspire to. You need to get a reputation and you need to be the best fighter. It's bullshit, man.
That's some territorial nonsense.
It is. It's nonsense. Like, you need to disconnect for that.
Definitely. So what is your plans from now?
Well, I just kind of try to take it as a week as it comes, John. I don't try and think too far ahead, although I do. I'm trying to think about where this is going to go. Like, obviously, I've kind of been thinking this week about maybe trying to get back to work, and because I think to myself, I'm doing all right off YouTube and that, and I can set my own day with it. But I thought, well, actually, if I go back to work on top of it, then I could probably do all right off it. Like, do you know what I mean? If I could get it working properly. I'm not doing that well off YouTube. It's not. It needs to be built.
It's hard to make money off YouTube.
It is. It needs to be built, because they demonetised it all years ago. Like back in 2016, they'd made loads of changes to it. So that's why I'm kind of thinking I'm looking to get affiliate marketing and stuff in the go. But I've never really been that worried about money. See, as long as I've got my guitar and everything I need, and I could buy a pair of trainers or something, I'm happy. I've never been interested in having millions of pounds and big houses, and there was a time in my life where I used to think, that would be nice. It would be nice and easy just to win the lottery, but that's another thing that fucking depresses me. I just want to win the lottery. Why? What? Right, so you win the lottery, right? You'll change your life for a couple of years. You'll get to do all the things you never done. You'll buy all these cars. You'll sort your family out. Life's good. But eventually, you're going to be left with your thoughts. Having done everything and bought everything, what's next? That's why millionaires, Fortune 500 company CEOs, most of them are depressed, because they think that their dream was to become a millionaire, then a multi-millionaire. Because when they become a millionaire, right, they think, I want to be a millionaire. And I know a millionaire. I know a guy that's made millions that told me this. You think that, and you get to the million, and then you think, right, no, I don't feel this. This doesn't feel like success. It's actually 2 million I need. And then you get the 2 million, and then you get these financial guys that get 10 million, and then no, it's 100 million I need. No, actually, I'm still not happy. It's 1 billion I need. It's 1 billion, and then they get to the billion, and they're still not happy, because they're realizing that They get there and they think, I've been sold a shit show here. I've been chasing nothing. Here, this has been sold to me as the dream, the be all and end all, and yet It's shite. It's nothing. All it is a number on a screen. That's why you need to keep setting your own goals and learning new things. I mean, it doesn't matter what you get to. I always used to dream about playing the guitar, and while I do enjoy it, it isn't what I thought it would be. It's not driving a BMW. Always used to dream about it. You start driving a BMW, it's never what you thought it would be. That's why you need to keep going. That's why when you want to become a millionaire and you make $1 million, it'll not be what you think it's going to be. It's why you need to go, I need to make 2. Stay away from money and chasing numbers, because like Bob Marley said, if you're chasing numbers for happiness, you'll never be happy, because numbers never end. And that's what I've just explained within that. It just never ends, because they think to themselves, this is the dream. That's what's going to make me happy. And then when they get there, they realise that actually, no, it isn't. I'm actually fucking depressed at that, mate. That's actually quite depressing at how unhappy I am at achieving my happiness.
Aye, 100%. I totally agree. It's like the happiness isn't found in attaining the million
journey,
or the 10 million. It's the journey, it's the process.
Aye.
That's what people realise. It's because it's the process is where you learn. That's where the adventure is. That's where the mystery is. That's where the joy is, because you've got the ups and downs.
Aye.
You're on that roller coaster, because it's like when you go on a roller coaster, what's the most exciting part of it? When you get off it,
exactly.
You're on it.
Exactly.
It's when you're on it. It's when you get off it, and it's done. You get off it, and it's done. You're gutted.
During it and all, isn't it?
It's during it's the best part, because you're going up, you're going down, where's it gone? But it's the minute you get off it, you're like, that's essentially the journey. The journey is the roller coaster.
That, Jordan. That's a good
I just thought it there. I made it
man. Because it's actually true.
I know.
It's true, mate.
Exactly.
You get to the end of your roller coaster ride, and you're gutted when you come off, because it's done. So why would it be any different for anyone else?
Exactly.
It wouldn't, and it's not.
Exactly. That's it. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of life, man. But anyway, man, that's pretty much us finished
Brilliant.
up here, man.
Honestly,
I've
Jordan,
really
I appreciate
enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I didn't realise I would relate to you in such a level, because when I was planning to get you in the podcast, obviously we're going to focus on your time in the DWP, man. But we've managed to kind of find a level in so many different things.
There's no point bringing the notes, was there?
I forgot you brought them. So is there anything you want to kind of say to the camera, say to anybody that's watching that, and you want to promote that?
Just one thing I will say, if you want to get me on YouTube, you'll get me on my name. It's We Are the Wingmakers, or Alan McClemont. It'll come up, same on Instagram. But I mean, one thing I will say is, don't live someone else's life. Don't be a page in somebody else's book. Don't be a slave in somebody else's salt mine. If you think you've got the minerals, then you've got the minerals. You've got them whether you think it or not. But please, man, if, like I said before, if somebody's sitting next to you and they're telling you that you can't do it and you think you can, you'll need to leave them behind. Let them go and work on the building site or whatever. I'm not, there's anything wrong with that. But if you believe you're due more or you want more and you can achieve more, then that's where you need to go, and the people that you need to meet will come into your life so you can achieve that. Because I had it with my nephew, my wee nephew, just quickly, he'd said that a year ago he wanted to start his own clothing line. He's only 13, he was 12 at the time, and he wants to start his own business and all the rest of it. But then when he's hot 13, he started to hang about with his high school second year and hang about with more people. He now wants to be an electrician. Not that, again, there's nothing wrong with that, but do you see how it's dropped in 1 year, going from 12 to 13? Just keep if you believe that you can do it, you can. It might take a wee while and it might be hard, there'll be steps, there'll be skint knees in the way, but you can do it.
Do that in an apprenticeship and all,
listen,
man.
Mate, see if I was I still am addicted to sugar and ice cream, I fucking love it. It'll never end, I just need to try and manage it. But see, the thing about it is, see if fucking hell, I forgot my train of thought there, mate.
It's all good, mate. It's all good.
You'll need to edit that out. I totally forgot what I was going to say there.
I know, it's like the ice cream and that. You're saying addicted to sugar, because you're talking about your nephew going from 12 to 13.
I can't remember.
Because that's the thing, you see, it might be hard. Pursuing your dreams, it will be hard, it will be difficult. So is working in a fucking building site. I worked in a building site, that was hard and difficult.
Exactly.
So as we say, go back to choose your hard.
Exactly.
And see, the thing is, see when you're pursuing something worthwhile, something you're passionate about, something that really resonates with you, the hard is a lot more easier to endure. It's not easy, but it's easier to endure because you know you're building something is worthwhile. And I know that for experience. I've experienced all the fucking shite jobs. I've experienced working out in freezing cold weather. I've experienced wankers that's fucking working above you. I've experienced it all, and it was brutal.
Don't think how hard it'll be, mate. Think how hard you'll be when it's done.
Exactly. You're right.
And that's it. That is it. That is honestly it. Because it'll build parts to you.
That's exactly it. It's growth. Just remind yourself, this is growth. I'm growing here. And it's like, see, it's an opportunity. It's like, see when I used the toilet before we started this podcast, I I pulled up my phone and I seen a quote, and it says, "Be grateful for." It's something that said like with growth. It was like if it's basically it was saying if it's feeling tough, these are the day you're growing.
Aye.
And if it's feeling good, this is you celebrating your growth.
Aye,
Essentially,
exactly,
it's every day is growth.
Aye.
So if it's a hard day, you're growing, and if it's a good day, then you're celebrating your growth.
The moment now is all that exists. It's just this moment that we are sitting in. Like when I walked into this flat, whenever it was, that's now the past. That does not exist anymore. The future doesn't exist either, because I'm having to think. It's bringing you out of this moment now. This moment now that we are sitting in is the only moment that you can make it happen. It'll not happen in the future, and it's obviously not happened in the past. It's just this moment now. That's the only time anything can change. And well, you might make a decision to say, right, I've been through it all. I've been through the mishaps. I'm going to change my life after listening to this podcast. It'll take years. It will take years, but just remember, or it could take years, that you've made this decision in this now moment, and you might be thinking, well, this could be 5 years or 10 years or 8 years or 15 years, but the moment now can change any moment now. It really can. It can change any time. It could be like you could be into it for 2 years thinking, I'll have another 2 or 3 years to go before I'm achieve what I need to achieve here, and then maybe 3 weeks after that, your moment now will just change like that, and you'll be like, that's happened to me loads of times. It just something somewhere, if you're on the right path, will come and speed you up in your moment now.
Yeah, man. You realise it. You realise all the signs will be there. That synchronicity, what you talk about, and the moment now, I've actually started teaching myself that quite a lot, living in the here and now, because see, when you do, you celebrate the moment. Because see, when you go back to that chasing the millions and chasing the money, that's kind of the same. Like when you're thinking of the future, you're chasing the next big thing. I can't wait till this. I can't wait till that. But see, when you get to that, you'll be can't wait to the next thing, and you'll never truly experience the moment for what it is. And every moment we have will never be lived again. You might have similar moments. I love similar podcasts, but I could get you back on this podcast
It'd
next
be nothing like this,
and we could have the exact same conversation, but it will not be the same conversation because it's just that is a one-time thing.
It's got a different spin on it.
Exactly,
because it's
man.
a different moment now. It's a different
you can't
time,
recreate it. No, I mean you can't. Even when you watch a film, I could watch the same film 10 times and have 10 different experiences. You ever watch a film, you go, I didn't notice that before. You listen to a song, alright, is that what these lyrics mean?
All the time.
It's like every experience is different.
I mentioned the Smiths when I came in here. 10 years ago, I couldn't have listened to that music. I could not have listened to that band 10 years ago. But now I can. They're actually one of my favourite bands. But that's again, that comes from changing yourself. And I mean, how many people, Jordan, are sitting in folks' living rooms with their pals and that, they're now sitting there not having that good a time because they're not being able to live the life they want to live because they're too worried about people they might want to listen to the Smiths, but they're feared because the guy next to them is going to take the piss out of them for it. That's happening everywhere, mate.
Aye, everywhere, man. It's so commonplace, especially with social media as well, because you're suddenly exposed. You're right out there the minute you start trying to do better for yourself, or you try to go against the norm, you're immediately exposed to it. But as you say, it's like you said it yourself when you done your first video, you were getting 3 showers a day because you were so anxiety-ridden.
I was anxious, mate.
Now I bet you when you go to do a video, you're buzzing to do it. It's that initial thing that you get. Once you get over it, it's like go to the gym. It's like when you first go to the gym, you're anxiety-ridden. I don't know what I'm doing. People are looking at me. Then before you know it, you're like, I can't wait to get in the gym. It's like your second home. It's just once you kind of overcome that initial barrier, it disappears.
That's it. When you realise you're not made of glass.
That's it. You're right.
That is it. And because that's what builds the new parts. You think, you actually say to yourself, what the f*** was I so worried about? Why was I so scared of that? And then the more we train ourselves, because the more we bloody do it, and then that's why we look back in situations and think, that's really stupid, isn't it? That was really stupid of me to think like that. And we actually get embarrassed. That's why we get embarrassed of the past a lot, because we've grown so much since that past moment that we look back on it to the person we are now. And I do it all the time. I cringe. I sometimes cringe to myself when I think about some of the behaviours I was involved in 10, 12 years ago.
That's a sign of growth, though.
It is. That's it. And listen, that's got to happen to everyone at some point. But 100%. It's just good to get on with folk that are on the same wavelength. Like I say, we're two different people that look at different things, but we've came to the same conclusions, and we're from the same one field, energy field, and it's amazing. It's magic. That's where the knowledge is. It's where the songs. It's where the idea. You can tap into that. All you need to do is tap into yourself, and you need to spend some time alone and build your mind and read. You need to read books. Like,
you need to educate yourself.
You do. Like, we need to. And Pete, I said this to my brother the other week. There, I says, we need to start looking. You need to start looking at this stuff. Or I can't remember who it was that said that you need to start looking at it. But he was like that to me. He says, "Oh, it's not for everybody." No, it's not. But it's not for entertainment either, mate. This is not for entertainment. If we want this world to change and we want this world to be better, we need to take responsibility and we need to educate our bloody minds. And till we do that, we're stuck here, Jordan.
100% right, mate. 100%. But it's been absolutely fantastic.
Honestly, mate, I really appreciate it. It's been brilliant. It's brilliant to have somebody to bounce off like that, and the time just goes like that.
That's exactly it. I thought I'm curious to see how long we've done. I think we've done just under 2 hours, man. But it's been a great chat. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on, Alan. But check him out, his YouTube channel. It's what's your YouTube channel called again?
Just type in Alan McClemont. We are the Wingmakers. Either or, you'll get me.
Check him out on YouTube right after you watch this. He's got plenty of great content. You can find out more about the guy and contact him yourself, people.
Thanks.
But been an absolute pleasure having you, Alan. Like, subscribe, don't get wide. Catches.